The 18th regular meeting of the Medford City Council will come to order. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Caviola.
Yes. Present.
Council Falco.
Present.
Council Knight.
Present.
Vice President Longwood Kern.
Present.
Council Marks.
Present.
Council Scarpelli.
Present.
President Del Russo.
Present, 7 members present, none absent. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Chair recognizes Councilor Knight for request of suspension of the rules. Councilor Knight.
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to invite our good friend and former 2014 Massachusetts Teacher of the Year, Anthony Petrellis, up here to make a little announcement relative to a special project that he's been working on, a fundraiser to help those children stricken with cancer, Mr. President.
Very good. So on the motion of Councilor Knight for suspension of the rules, all those in favor? All those opposed? Motion granted. Suspension of the rules to take the Speaker, Teacher of the Year, to present to us on a charitable organization. Professor.
Teacher of the Year.
I don't know, what a head of hair on him, huh?
Thank you guys for having us.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Oh, I'm sorry. Anthony Petrellis, 124 Harvard Street. I am here because we are doing a special fundraiser. We participated in last year. It's called the Buzz Off. It takes place at Gillette Stadium, Foxborough, Massachusetts. The event takes place June 5th, this June 5th coming up. And it is an honor. We're honoring a passing of a student at the McGlynn Elementary School 3 years ago, Hemo Radati. I'm here with his mother, and she's here to say a few words about Hemo, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the event.
Hi, I'm Abir Radati. I'm Hemo's mom. Hemo was 6 years old when he was diagnosed with cancer. He was just a happy, healthy, funny child, and he started to feel unwell, and then we took him to Children's Hospital, and after investigation he was diagnosed with spinal cord cancer that has already spread along his spine. After that he went into surgery and received radiation and chemotherapy and was treated in Dana-Farber and Children's Hospital. He went to school in the 2nd grade, and he passed away in his 3rd grade. And he tried hard. He tried for almost 2.5 years to fight cancer, but he couldn't. During his last month in the hospital, we have received a lot of support from Medford families, from the McGlynn School, the teachers, the principal, and they really took care of my daughters while I was in the hospital with him for a month, and they took care of me and the girls after he passed away. And they did honor him by just planting a tree outside the school in his name, and then we had some events that took place also in the school, the Hoops for Hemo, and I will let Anthony talk about it. Thank you.
Yeah, so the last couple years we had a basketball game known as Hoops for Hemo, and these are the t-shirts that the teachers wore every year and played. They were also able to be purchased by people in the school. So, we had a blue out, I would say, during the games. So this Buzz-Off event came to us last year. Beer had approached me at several middle school teachers about participating in this event in honor of Hemo. And last year we raised over $12,000. Myself and McGlynn middle school teachers, there was about 7 or 8 of us that went down there. So this year I kind of assembled my own team. One of the people here, Dave Richard, who is a phys ed teacher at Medford High School. Also, I have a 5th grade teacher, Cameron Co-Smith, at the Roberts Elementary School, and I have Matt McKenna, a middle school teacher at the McGlynn Middle School. So we have put a team together. I have several students who are also participating in it this year, and it's been unbelievable the support we've had from the city. We've had to put it on their Facebook page. The mayor has written about it. It's been in the paper. All the faculty has been notified of it, and we're just really trying to spread the word of this event. It's such a special event, listening to stories when you're there, meeting kids that are very sick and they're high spirits, and it's just something I was a part of last year and I thought was amazing. And, I really want to try to make this such a big event. Going there last year, there were cities like Milton that brought their firefighters, their police officers, teachers, cheerleaders. I mean, it was a really big event, and, we kind of got a late jump on it this year, but this is something I kind of really want to work with Abir hand in hand with every single year to honor her son, who's, a great kid, and, make this something that Medford as a city can kind of unite and participate in for, one of their kids. So I thank Councilor Knight and Councilor Scarpelli for allowing me to come here and speak tonight and allow us to be here and spread the word. We have, flyers or certificates. If anybody's more interested in learning about it, we'll gladly hand them out to you. We've had a lot of local business support. Boston Physical Therapy and Wellness has donated to us. Avellino's Sub Shop has donated to us. And we have, word out there to several other places as well. So this is really to kind of spread the word, tell the story, and hope that we can gain support in the next month to really show up with a big group of people there. Thank you guys very much.
Mr. President, can we ask Mr. Petrelis if people would like to donate, maybe where they can go to do that? Is there a site online or?
Yes, so this information that I have here explains it a lot better where to donate. Basically, you would go to onemissionbuzzoff.org, and then you would click the team that you donate. We're Team Hemo. And when you click there, it's pretty self-explanatory. You just kind of fill in the information, what you're donating, and then it go right to our team page so we can see who donates. As I said, it's kind of been spread all over Facebook, emails, blogs, everything around the city. And as I said, I have papers that I can hand out to you all. We've been giving them to local businesses all across the city, walking and knocking on doors and everything. So I don't know if anybody wants to take these or if I just
Leave them with the
here.
messenger. I'm sure I'll give it to all of us.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, Mr. President, I for one just want to thank the Medford Public Schools, Mr. Rich, Mr. Petrelis, for the work that they do. It's obvious that they're more than just classroom teachers, Mr. President, that they have a true concern for their kids and that they're perfect examples of the great job that our public school system here in Medford is doing in terms of focusing on the whole student, in terms of really caring for the students that are in their classroom. And, it takes a village, Mr. President, and this is a perfect example of that. To see Hemo's mom here after several years come back and to see these two teachers who were affected by Hemo's life and Hemo's, passing, to continue this tradition. It's really moving, Mr. President, and I'd like to thank Mr. Rich and Mr. Petrelis for all their efforts on behalf of the family. I'm sure that she's thanked them 1,000 times over, Mr. President, but really this is just another perfect example of the work that great public schools do here in the city of Medford, and our great public school teachers, and what they can do when they put their mind to it. So, Mr. President, thank you very much to everybody that's donated. Thank you to everybody that's paid attention to the cause, and thank you to these two gentlemen with those beautiful heads of hair that are going to be getting mowed down to wiffle length come early June. So, with that being said, Mr. President, I'd like to ask that the matter be received and placed on file, but we thank the folks for being up here.
On that motion, Councilor Scarpelli.
If I can, I echo my remarks from Councilor Knight. I actually challenge him because I will shave my head if he shaves his. And but on a serious note, I appreciate Mom being here, and I know that what that negative situation did to our school at the McGlynn and our McGlynn family. My son and daughter both being around at the time, and with something negative and sad came out something positive with a lot of pride, and Hemo's name will never be forgotten in my home, and it's people like Mr. Petrelis and Mr. Richard and the fellow teachers that carry on this tradition, his name, and as Mr. Petrelis says, next year we get a head start on this. We'll spread the word and let's challenge the whole community to get around issues like this. I think that this is what makes our system great, because it's real and it deals with real people and how we could stand together and work together for a great cause. So thank you very much for being here tonight, and good luck.
Thank you, President Del Russo. I just also want to thank you for going above and beyond. I think your call of duty and your job role with the city of Medford, it really obviously means a lot to the mom you have here and, you know, the whole community. I think it's just definitely something positive, and best of luck with the event. I hope a lot of people get on the website and donate. As you said, it's on Facebook. I hope we see some posts after with new hairdos from the two of you. And also, I believe the basketball game is this Friday. I don't know if you want to put a plug in for that. Is that donations for, I got the email today, is that donations for this as well?
No, in the past it has been. It's for a different fundraiser this year, so, but yeah, in the past it has been. We've raised over, I think $8,000 or $9,000 per year that has been donated to, and if I'm wrong, tell me, the Children's Hospital Game Room.
Oh, wow.
It was, for the last 3 years, they've been doing this Hoops for Hemo, and all the fund that's raised goes to Children's Hospital, and they have his team's name on the donation board.
Great. Great, and the game is 6:30 at the McGlynn. What cause is that for this year?
Jocelyn Diabetes.
That's right, diabetes, yes. I should have known that, okay. Well, best of luck with both events.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Councilor Marks.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I too want to lend my support. This is a very worthy cause, and I'm sure it's a very difficult story to bring up, and it's very heart-wrenching, to say the least. I would ask, Mr. President, that if we could, as a council, we have a billboard, electronic billboard on 93, and part of the agreement we have with the billboard company is that we're allowed to put a certain number of local community events and activities on the billboard. And I think that would be a very positive way of uniting not only this community, but everyone that uses 93 in donating and getting active in such a cause. So I would ask that we send a message to the mayor that we'd like to promote this particular event through the use of the electronic billboard at 93. And this is going to be a yearly event that we continue to promote as a city. And as Mr. Petrellis mentioned, that we unite as a community and get the police, fire, DPW, anyone in the community that wants to get active and involved. And I think that's a great way of at least getting the message out to the entire community. So I'd ask that be an amendment that we send out, Mr. President.
Very good. So if Councilor Knight is amenable to withdraw his motion?
I will withdraw my motion, Mr. President. I think that's an excellent suggestion, an excellent idea, and I support it wholeheartedly.
So the motion under discussion now is Councilor Marks. Councilor Caviello.
Thank you, Mr. President. And Anthony, thank you for coming up here. Anthony, I would like you to come to my Kiwanis meeting on Monday to receive a donation from our club. So if you come down to Pacelli's on Monday at 6 o'clock, we would make a donation to your group. So if you come down and join us for dinner, and we would make a donation to you.
Councilor Falcon.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for coming down. It's a very worthy cause, and I just want to wish you well. So good luck. Thank you.
Thank you for your good work. So on the motion of Councilor Marks, seconded by Councilor Knight, roll call vote is requested. Mr. Clerk, if you would, please call the roll.
Councilor Caviello.
Yes.
Councilor Falco.
Yes.
Councilor Knight. Yes. Vice President Longwood Kern. Yes. Councilor Marks.
Yes.
Councilor Scarpelli. Yes. President Del Russo.
Yes, with a vote of 7 in the affirmative, none in the negative, the motion passes. While we're under suspension of the rules, Madam Vice President.
If we could take, I know there's a number of people in the audience, so if we could take first being 16482, communications from the mayor.
16482, communications from the mayor. On the motion to take this paper out of order, all those in favor, all those opposed, motion carries. Communications from the mayor, 16482. President Fred Del Russo and members of the Medford City Council from Stephanie M. Burke, Mayor, gift from Hallmark Health Corporation. Dear Mr. President and members of the Medford City Council, in accordance with the provisions of General Law, Chapter 44, Paragraph 53A, I respectfully request and recommend that your honorable body approve the acceptance of an unconditional gift to the City of Medford from Hallmark Health Corporation of 170 Governors Avenue, Medford, Mass. 02155, in the amount of $4,500. It is intended that this gift be used to support a program called Produce in a Snap for Seniors, which provides subsidized farm shares to residents over 60 years of age living in Medford. It will provide them better access to the freshest, locally grown produce thanks to a collaboration with our 4 local organizations, Medford Farmers Market, the Board of Health / Mass in Motion, the Medford Housing Authority, and New Entry Sustainable Farming Project. Sarah McGivern will be in attendance at the council meeting. For further information, respectfully submitted, Stephanie M. Burke, Mayor. Good evening, welcome. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, I'm Sarah McGivern, I'm the Mass in Motion Coordinator.
Very good.
And I'm Eileen Dern, I'm the Director for Community Services at Hallmark Health.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Did you want to present or explain this paper for us?
Sure. So the program, which you just briefly described, called Produce in a Snap for Seniors, is one of the programs that the Medford Farmers Market has designed to provide greater access to healthy food for people in our community. The Farmers Market, as you may or may not know, does a lot of other programming besides just the Farmers Market on Thursday afternoons. And this is one that's specific for seniors. Last year was our first year that we ran the program, and it was sort of a pilot program that provided bags of fresh produce to seniors on Tuesday afternoons. It was subsidized from the Massachusetts Association of Councils on Aging, and basically the seniors came and picked up a bag of fresh produce. You can see in the handouts that I've passed out to you a picture of what some of the fresh vegetables and fruits looks like. It was a really great variety of everything from beets, lettuce, arugula, berries, apples, you name it, things that were grown in the Lowell area. And the seniors paid $5 for the bag, and it was worth about $20. We had such an overwhelming response from the participants in the program last summer that we really worked hard to find funding to run this program again this summer. And the overall program costs close to $10,000. We were lucky enough to get this great donation from Hallmark Health to cover most of the produce for the program this summer, so that's why Eileen's here to.
So it's very exciting for us as well. As most of the folks know, we do a mobile food market in Malden and ride a shuttle bus down from City Hall every month here in Medford. But Sarah had done such a great job of describing the importance of the program, had great measures. It fit with what we're trying to do to improve health for our patients as well. And in addition to the donation, we're providing a senior outreach nurse who will be with Sarah and her team to help with cooking and screening and helping with other health initiatives as well. So it's a really nice use of collaboration to improve the access to good, healthy food for our seniors and really improve that whole idea of isolation. So they'll be helping each other learn how to cook, maybe share some things where they have a little bit more than they need. And I think this will be a great way to work together. So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Can you explain if all seniors will be involved in the program, or will they have to qualify?
You just have to be a resident living in Medford, age 60 or older. There's no income qualifications.
I just want to thank you for the donation, Hallmark Health, and Eileen, this is great, and hopefully there'll be some sort of marketing and publicity on this, and so all our seniors can take advantage of it. Will you be doing, posting in the paper, and how will you be letting everybody know?
Senior newsletter, Facebook, transcript, patch, all the usual places. We had a tremendously long waiting list last year, so we do give priority to the residents at Medford Housing Authority first because it's held there at their building. So.
And for the 10,000, how many seniors will you be able to give a bag to?
We'll have 38 bags per week. So if the same people came every week, we'd be serving 38 people, but it'll probably be different people coming all the time.
And how many weeks?
16, July through October.
Great, thank you again.
Come and visit if you ever get a chance, Tuesdays.
Thank you. Thank you very much to Hallmark Health for their support of what is shaping up to be a rather popular program. Thank you to Mass in Motion as well for doing your efforts to fundraise and to commit yourself to such an endeavor. I think that it speaks volumes when the actual people that are involved in the organization are going out there and soliciting donations because they believe in the product that they're putting out there. So thank you very much, Ms. McGivern, and thank you very much to our friends at Hallmark Health. This is the perfect example of strong public-private partnership, Mr. President, and it's something that I hope that we can build on for years to come. I, for one, am very supportive of accepting the donation and would move for approval, but thank you very much.
Thank you. And this is a great program, and I appreciate the donation from Hallmark Health also. The registration, one has to go to the Council on Aging to register. Is that how it works?
We're going to hold registration for one day. I think it's probably going to be June 14th. We'll start out with at the Medford Housing Authority sites. I'll move around to different sites and register people there, and then go to the senior center. Yeah.
Right.
But we have to give priority to the people who live at Medford Housing Authority first.
Okay. And it's weekly pickup afterwards, right? Once you register for the program, and the weekly pickup is at the senior housing, is that correct?
No, it was at 121 Riverside Ave, the Salt and Stall building. It's a nice big open space with a kitchen that we can use for doing cooking demos.
Right. What about for just fresh fruits and vegetables if someone wants?
They can come to the farmer's market.
Or they can come to the market that we run through Hallmark Health the second Saturday of the month. And we do provide transportation from City Hall.
You provide it from City Hall?
Yes.
Is there any outreach at all involved in this for shut-ins and people that actually can't get out?
Well, we're relying on the newsletter that comes out of the senior center. And I also distribute flyers to the food pantries and a transcript article.
Right, but
do you have any other ideas?
If I'm homebound and I can't get out, how would I be able to participate?
We did have some volunteers last summer that were willing to pick people up and bring them to the site. It didn't end up being needed, but we can try to do that again this summer.
That'd be great. And I love the farmers market. I think it does a lot of great. However, price-wise, from what I hear from the seniors, and it's great to have local grown produce and so forth, but many of the seniors are priced out of getting fruits and vegetables from the farmers market. And I'd like to see some type of component. Maybe you aren't the correct people to speak with, but I'd like to see some type of component that would embrace our seniors and those that are on fixed incomes that maybe are priced out of that particular venue.
We have our EBT matching program on Thursdays, so that's people who are receiving government benefits, formerly known as food stamps, now called SNAP. We actually match that and double the value of those, so that makes it a little bit more accessible to people. But there's, of course, all those families that don't qualify for federal assistance and then are kind of outside that category and can't get those benefits from us. But also, I mean, this program was designed to serve seniors who maybe can't afford or can't get to the farmer's market, and because this is actually subsidized, they're getting a bag that's worth $15 for $5. So trying to make it a little bit more equitable.
And the market on Saturday, the second Saturday, in fact, it's this Saturday coming up, there's no fee at all, so it's completely free for them, and the transportation is free as well. And we can help people set up the ride. Some of our customers come with the ride, and folks from Medford do volunteer and help out. Because I know the police chief makes robocalls often to let people know that that market is there and that it's free for Medford residents. And when they call, they don't call us to register, they actually call here at Medford City Hall so that they feel like it's a Medford-based program.
Right. And do you know if this is listed in the Senior Sounds, which is a newsletter that goes out to the seniors?
I'm not sure, but...
You may want to check that, because a lot of seniors get that delivered.
And we do have flyers that are available. We send them to the Board of Health, so they would receive a flyer every month with the dates and times. We work very closely with Diane McLeod just to make sure that it gets out to the right folks. And then in addition, we get it out to all the different doctors' office practices so that they can hang that in their office and refer. And we're actually working very hard with the Greater Boston Food Bank to add even some more programs like this. They've just hired a physician to work with them because they really feel strongly that, just as you're saying, that making sure that the most vulnerable people have access to fresh, healthy foods.
That's great. I would just, if you could, check the senior sounds. It's,
We can do
I know a
that.
lot of seniors
Absolutely.
use that as their informational tool.
Yes, we'd be glad to do that.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So on the motion for approval by Councilor Knight, seconded by Councilor Marks, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Counsel Caviello. Yes. Counsel Falco.
Yes.
Counsel Knight. Yes. Vice President Lynn Kern. Yes. Counsel Marks. Yes. Counsel Scarpelli. Yes. President Del Russo.
Yes, with a vote of 7 in the affirmative, none in the negative, the gift is received. Thank you for your generosity and thank you for your good work.
Our pleasure.
Thank you. Under suspension, Councilor Knight, while we're under suspension, to take 16-479. On the motion of Councilor Knight to take 16-479, petitions, presentations, and similar matters. Petition by Michael Kilfmerian, owner of On Call Taxi Incorporated, doing business as Metric Cab, 407 Rear Mystic Avenue, Suite 34B, to upgrade cab number 44 from a 2000 Toyota Camry, VIN number 4T1 BE4 6K97U 602789 to a 2009 Toyota Camry, VIN number 4T1 BE4 6K49U 849365. And the chair recognizes Councilor Caraviello, chairman of the licensing
Thank you,
subcommittee.
Mr. President. Mr. President, this is an upgrade from a 2007 to 2009 taxi. It's a vehicle improvement, and papers are in order, Mr. President, so I motion for approval.
On the motion for approval by Councilor Caraviello, all those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations for your transfer.
Thank you, Mr. President.
While we're under similar matters, 16480, petition by Joseph Pierre, owner of Citywide Taxi Incorporated, 40 Canal Street, to upgrade. Mr. Pierre, are you here? In the absence of Mr. Pierre, who is not here, Councilor Caraviello.
Mr.
motions
President,
to
I
table.
motion this be tabled.
On the motion of Councilor Caraviello to table, all those in favor, all those opposed, matter is tabled. Councilor Knight.
Paper 16481, Mr. President. While we're under suspension, I'd like to take that matter up as well.
Motion of Councilor Knight to take number 16481, communications and report from city boards and commissions. 16481, John Costas, treasurer of the Civic Auditorium Commission, Chevalier Theater, to update the city council on an opportunity presented to the commission by the North Shore Music Theater and other updates to the theater. Mr. Costas, welcome. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, John Costas, 56 Haines Street, the city. Well, let me start by saying I'm up here as a citizen, not as a 30-year member of the Chevalier Commission. And one of the reasons why I chose this forum is back in 1981, when the council voted to retain the theater and put it under the direction of a commission, part of the job was to renovate, rehab, operate it, and bring it up to a level where professional, management companies or groups would want to use us. And that's not exactly the words I wanted to use, but we're now at a level where a professional production company has voiced an interest in putting on professional concerts, Broadway shows, and run a movie series. That was North Shore Music Theater. Now, they're only one body that happened to voice an interest in Chevalier Theater. And there's a lot of people still around that remember Chevalier Theater when it was being saved in 1981. And unfortunately, with 35 years past, a lot of them can't come out to the city council and they don't come to the theater. So I felt this would be the best way of letting these people know that, we're just about there now. We now have one company that, has two successful theaters, one in the North Shore, Beverly Music Theater, and down on the South Shore, Theater by the Sea, and has 7 movie theaters that has an interest. Now, speaking for myself, now that we have one corporation that has an interest in us, there's a possibility that other people may come forth now. Because once one person comes through and they realize we're viable, and this is the first time that I'm really confident that we're viable. There's other opportunities for the community and the theater, and obviously, all these studies that the city had done over the past 30 years said the same thing. Chevalier Theater is the key to Medford Square to bring in shows on a weekend. And if we can present, or if a company can present shows on every week or a series of movies, we've certainly accomplished the goal that the people wanted in 1981. And I know it makes me sound old, but I'm old. And I just wanted to just convey that there's a possibility out there that this corporation has an interest in us, and if an RFP is presented out there to find anybody else that may be interested, I mean, that'll be great. Maybe there's a second corporation out there that has an interest in the theater. But if there's one, there could be more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. On the motion of Councilor Knight to receive and place on file.
Mr. President, I think that it might make sense for us to refer this to the Arts and Culture Subcommittee for an update from the council when, in fact, they do maybe put out an RFP or receive some further interest from other people, and then the subcommittee can report back to us at that time.
On the motion of Councilor Knight, Councilor Longo-Kern.
Thank you, President Del Russo. The Arts and Subcommittee on Cultural Arts and History did publish a notice. That's, I believe, Councilor Scarpelli, Councilor Marks, and I, and we do have a meeting scheduled next Tuesday at 6 p.m. for this very reason. I believe there's a number of things going on with Chevalier that need to be, that we really haven't been updated on, and it's about time that we figure out what's going on, what offers are out there, what RFPs are, in line. We've been briefed, and we've talked to a number of different people. I'm sure every one of us have. So it's definitely a time for a meeting, time to sit down and start the discussion and start getting updated ourselves so we know what is going on, and we can help in any way we can, as well as, give advice if that's, necessary or wanted. So we do have a meeting scheduled next week at 6. I'm not sure if there's going to be a conflict with that, but as of right now, that is scheduled. So hopefully we'll learn from, the whole commission is invited, John and the whole commission. So hopefully we can get more of an idea of what's going on. And I appreciate Mr. Costas informing us of this new news, and I look forward to the meeting next week.
Awesome. So, Councilor Knight, with your motion then, since the meeting has already been called.
Receive and place on file, Mr. President.
On the motion of Councilor Knight to receive and place on file. Yes, Mr.
Just
Costas.
what I meant to say, and it goes along with Councilor, this Thursday coming at 7 o'clock, the Chevalier Commission is meeting. It's an open public meeting, and at that meeting is where they'll be discussing an RFP that would be going out. And at this meeting, I've asked somebody to be there that has experience, has experience in theater rental and so forth, so that if we have any questions, or if I have any questions, he represents the theater, we can talk to him as well. But it's Thursday at 7 o'clock, Chevalier Theater. Thank you.
Thank you. On the motion, Councilor Scarpelli is next.
If I can, Mr. Costa, thank you very much. Just a quick question. Did the North Shore Music Theater, did these representatives come and search you out, or did we go out and commission?
They came to us.
They came to us.
And then the owner of North Shore Music Theater, Bill Haney, he took a brief site visit because he had never seen it, but he heard from his associate who had been in there, that the size of the theater and what we have done in the past.
Did they give you any indication of what they wanted to just get involved in? Or?
No, we didn't. That's all, has not been discussed. It's just an interest. They want to invest money and make improvements to the theater and to its appearance.
That's exciting.
There's absolutely hasn't been any discussion on money, value, anything like that. It's just they came to us interested in us, and that kind of made me excited.
I look forward to our subcommittee meeting and maybe attending your meeting on Thursday. Is that, where would that be and what time?
It's in the lobby of Chevalier Theater.
Okay.
At 7 o'clock.
Okay. And again, again, this is something I think we all echoed, and if you looked at everybody's literature going out and running for office, everybody talked about the jewel of the city, and the heartbeat of our community is the Chevalier Theater. So we're pretty excited about this and appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Council Caviello.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, you know, with Chevalier being one of the largest venues in the Boston area, I think it's the fifth largest seating capacity in the area. I think some professional management of the building is well needed, and I hope that we'll have several offers of someone to take over, at least to manage the building and keep it viable. And I would hope that part of with a group that wants to invest some money, I hope a marquee will be in discussion for that building, because when the marquee was there during the filming of the movie, it made the building look very alive, and I think that made a big difference. So if that could be part of the discussion, I'd like to see that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Council Marks.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the organizations that have done so much over the 30, 40 plus years to keep Chevalier up and running. And without without really any impact or assistance from the city. And the Friends of Chevalier and also the Chevalier Commission has done yeoman's work in bringing in new performances without a city budget. They're doing the best they can to make sure that remains a place that's vibrant in this community. And I can just tell you from being active on the Friends that the people that are involved with the Friends and the Chevalier Commission are probably our most dedicated board members, and the amount of time and effort that goes into it behind the scenes that you don't see. There's not front page stories in the local paper, but let me tell you, the hours that are put in by these members to keep that Chevalier opening and functioning, not just for outsiders, but for residents of this community, is really remarkable what they've been able to do over the years. And I personally would just like to thank the Friends of Chevalier and the Chevalier Commissioners. I know there's been a few new appointees to the commission, and the amount of thoughts and new ideas that are surfacing now is incredible. And if they can harness that and push it forward, I think we're going to see what Councilor Scarpelli just mentioned, a renewed interest in this community. You know, these members have had an interest for many years, and now it's time that the community takes an interest, and also the city elected officials to put some money up in the budget, a yearly dollar amount in the budget, to make sure that we can bring in entertainment. And you look at any other, in Lowell or any other area that's has a similar theater, they're doing it with assistance from the city. And I think the city has to play an active role and be a good partner in this process. And I'm hoping that this particular budget, like we did with the arts, to recognize the arts in the city budget, that we will do the same for the Chevalier Commission to put it once again on the map and show that the city has a vested interest in this gem that we have in our community, that we've all talked about being the economic engine in the community, but you know, you can't have an engine without gas, and the city refuses to put gas in the engine, and I'm hoping that changes this budget, Mr. President.
Thank you, Council Marks. Council Falco.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to echo some of the sentiments of my colleagues as well. First of all, thank Mr. Costas for his years of dedication, but the commissioners as well. And, you know, like was said earlier, during the campaign, this came up many times. And this is really, I think, the key to economic development in Medford Square. We have a 2,000-seat theater in a downtown business district. We need to make sure it's utilized on a regular basis. This is an exciting opportunity to think that a company like North Shore Music Theory wants to come in. We should embrace this. Our city needs to embrace the theater. We need to embrace this building. I think for far too long we haven't. We need to embrace it as a community. I definitely support the city putting money towards the theater during the budget process. I think we're heading in the right direction by doing this. I look forward to hearing the results of the meeting next week and the meeting on Thursday night. And I definitely support this initiative. You know, I believe that this is truly the key to economic development in our square. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. So on the motion of Councilor Knight to receive and place on file, seconded by Councilor Falco, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Madam Vice President, where do you want to go? On the motion of Vice President Longo Kern to return to the regular order of business, all those in favor, all those opposed, the motion carries. 16-470, offered by Vice President Longo Kern. Be it resolved that the Medford City Council be given a copy of the edited and updated RFP that will be voted on by the Medford School Committee regarding the leasing of the Field of Dreams. Madam Vice President.
Thank you, President Del Russo. Watching the school committee meeting last Monday, so a week from yesterday, there was discussion on a bubble. It seems like there's going to be a topple over the Field of Dreams during the months of November till March. There was serious discussion. There was input that was given by each school committee member. There was question on whether the council should have involvement. I know there was a couple school committee members that wanted the council to be involved, and that idea was kind of shut down. But due to it being school property, I've gotten calls after the article, after the school committee meeting. I've gotten calls, questions have been asked to me. We also were the body that approved the bond to implement the Field of Dreams. It's been very successful. I know in the first 2 years when we did ask for the numbers, I believe the income and revenue was paying for the field. I know that one issue is their lack of maintenance budget, so this may very well be a great idea. It may very well be possibility to use these funds that are going to be brought in by an outside company to maintain the field. Now, I believe we have somebody here who has more of a background than I do, but this bubble or this RFP that they want to put out is for $75,000 per season. Medford children will only get to use the bubble from 2:30 to 4, 5 days a week, which is the weekdays, and then possibly sometime during the day. So my request is just simply to review the RFP, to take a look at it. I know that they did want to push it through a week ago, but it was, there were some updates that some of the school committee members did want to see. So I would just like to review the RFP, take a look at it. It is on school property, but the school is part of the city buildings, it's part of the city budget, so I do want to just take a look at the RFP, and I hope that my colleagues will understand that and agree with me. More eyes on something obviously is better.
Can you just explain what you mean by take a look and review it? You're asking for a copy of it so you can look at it?
Correct. Just looking for a copy of the RFP that's going to be sent out.
Point of information,
or
Councilor
voted
Knight.
on.
It's my understanding at this point in time, there is no RFP because they're in the process of drafting the RFP, and that's what the discussions at the school committee meeting were surrounded. And then it's also my further understanding that once the RFP terms are agreed upon by the policy-setting body for the school department, the school committee, that this RFP will be voted on, and once it's voted on, will become public record. So I don't see any problem
Point of
with us.
information.
Point of information, Madam Vice President.
There was a full RFP presented to the school committee on 8 days ago. It was a full RFP that the administrators wanted to get approved that night. There were a few changes that just need to be updated, so that should be drafted already, because I know that the next meeting is when they want them to vote on it. So I would like to take a look at it before it's voted on, just in case we have any questions and concerns. And I also want to be able to answer questions and concerns of the constituents and the parents that have been reaching out to me with questions.
Mr. President, my point of information was this: until the school committee votes on the RFP to be issued, there is no RFP. So
There is a draft RFP, so I'd like the draft RFP, updated RFP that will be voted on.
So
Matter of
your
words.
motion is, so the chair can have clarity, Madam Vice President, you are requesting for a copy of the draft RFP for the so-called bubble over the Field of Dreams, which I think has a real name.
Edgerly
Field. And you're asking that draft to be forwarded to the Medford City councilors for their personal perusal.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
So on that motion, Councilor Scarpelli.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I talked to a few of the city councilors and talked to a bunch of the parents about the Edgerly Field project and Bubble project. I happened to be one of the members on the Field of Dreams committee when we looked to, you know, an innovative way of bringing artificial turf facilities for our students and kids in the community, and it was highly successful. I think that with spearheaded by Bill Carr Jr. and his group that he put together, they reached out and went through walls to make sure that this dream came to reality. And one thing we thought outside the box at the time, and people worked very hard. And at the time, we had a cell phone company that came in and wanted to actually lease the land for one of the worst hotspots in the United States and bring a cell phone tower that would help fund that project. Unfortunately, that didn't work out, and it went out to bond. And as we're moving forward with this project, I'm actually excited that Medford has the innovation and the forthright to think outside the box, because I think this is what we're looking for. The bubble and the questions I had were, our schools are a mess, and let's put our funding to this, and we're lacking this and we're lacking that. Clarification on that is that the RFP, that from what was told to me yesterday, is the funding would come from one of the outside agencies that would come in and fund that, another fund it completely. Another question was that that if it bubbles, the overuse is going to ruin the turf, and studies have shown, from what I've done my research and being in my field, that actually it lengthens the turf because it's covered, not weathered. Some other issues are what funding would come in and what would happen. Well, we're talking about a maintenance plan that we're not very happy that, and most of the things we're doing in our community that in the past it hasn't been a capital improvement plan, and we're looking at an RFP going out for someone to come in, bubble an area that would normally sit dormant, and have the opportunity, from what I've been told, that would open up the mornings for recreational space for our seniors and provide some walking programs and stuff that we've lost with the Meadow Glen Mall closing, and having the physical education department using that, and then using the athletic teams using that for practice. And then another piece of that is making sure that whatever entity came in to do this, it would give the Medford residents an opportunity to participate in any program at half of the price. I believe that's what was told to me. So there's a lot of questions we have, but these are the clarifications that I wanted to give, that I made sure that I made some phone calls. I did talk to a few of the school kid members, and they were heard. And I also hear that it will go out to a vote on Monday at the school committee meeting, because they did their due diligence. And I believe it was a subcommittee, but I believe there were at least 5 members there that shared their concerns and put their input into this possibility. So I appreciate Vice President Longo-Kern for bringing this up. And again, I applaud what we're trying to do. I just hope as we move forward that we can set an identity of what we're doing with the funding to make sure that we're looking to do that and putting it back to the field. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Chair recognizes Councilor Caraviello.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I'm happy to see that our school committee is thinking outside the box and being innovative with these type of projects. And my only concern is that I just want to make sure that our children of our community don't get pushed aside on this, so that they have ample time to use this hopefully good innovation for their benefit and not more to private company using it. So that's one of my biggest concerns.
Point of information, Councilor Scarpelli.
To answer that, when I did talk to them, that was one of the biggest questions, and having time there and finding a balance, just as we do with all of our fields and what we're trying to do when you rent a facility, there's got to be a balance. You know, if someone's going to come in and bid for a bubble that's going to cost $1.8 million and put what they're asking for, the RFP, bathrooms, locker rooms, concession stand, parking lots, you're talking about making sure there's a balance if that's done. So, you know, again, this is where I think, where this isn't coming out of our taxpayers' pockets, this is an outside agency coming in and paying for future ventures, which will be probably $500,000 in field replacement within 5 to 8 years on that facility. So, thank you.
Like I said, I'm happy with thinking out of the box and being innovative, and you know that's what I think it's all about. And again, so I just want to make sure that our children are getting it better, because I can already envision the calls coming. Oh, you know, my kid couldn't get the play. You know, so again, that's a big concern. And I want to make sure that we're protected on that end.
Take a hot stand sometimes,
Councilor Knight.
Mr. President, I do have a question. What were those periods of time that Councilor Longo referred to, Mr. When the bubble was going to be up?
Madam Vice President, if you could...
The bubble, in the RFP, it says from November to March, and it says that...
Do you have a copy of the RFP already?
No, I watched the school committee meeting.
Oh.
Yeah, it was discussed in length. The contractor selected by the district would have use of the fields from 4 to 11 p.m. on weeknights.
I just wanted to know what the months were, Mr. President.
And 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. on weekends from those months.
And the reason I asked, Mr. President, is because having been very familiar with the administration of the fields, they closed usually at Thanksgiving, and they didn't open up again until after March. So, in essence, the fields are closed for the period of time that the bubble would be up normally. So, any use that we're getting out of it would be bonus. You know, if we can establish a public-private partnership with an entity that wants to come in there and invest money into our infrastructure at the fields and use it for the majority of time during a period of time where it would actually be inaccessible to everybody anyhow, I don't see any downside to this whatsoever, Mr. President. They're going to come up there, they're going to invest some money into the city of Medford, they're going to invest some money into our facilities, they're going to make our state of the fields even, more state-of-the-art, I guess you'd want to say. You know, I'm a little confused by the resolution. I'm not going to be in a position to tell the school committee not to vote on something that's in front of them they're comfortable to vote on. They're the policy-setting arm of our government for all things that are related to the school department, Mr. President, so I can't support...
Point of information?
Point of information, Madam Vice President.
The resolution doesn't say that.
I believe the resolution doesn't say that, but I believe as you were speaking in your presentation, you said, I just want to get a copy of the RFP to look at it and review it before they vote on it. Personally...
If I have questions, I maybe could give a call to a few school committee members and ask, because one question that has come to my attention is the weekends, 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Why can't Medford kids, you know, you're the negotiator, you know, you do that for a living, so maybe a couple hours on a Saturday, Medford kids can't play on it. And I'm not saying they should or shouldn't be able to, but I have questions.
Again, I believe, because I watched that same meeting and I actually talked to a few school committee members, part of that is something that was stressed, that whatever programs go on at those times, whether it be 4 to 11 or 8 to 11 on the weekends, that whatever entity comes in and wants that situation, that Medford residents will have an opportunity to participate in those programs.
Thank
so,
you.
in other words, in other ways, unless we start a cross-country ski program, which I think is a great idea with community schools, they can do that up there. So,
excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Knight has the floor.
Yeah, so as I was saying, Mr. President, I'm not comfortable telling the school committee they can't vote on something until we get a copy of something. So for that reason, I won't be supporting this paper.
Thank you. The citizen at the podium wishes to address us. Good evening. Please state your name and address for the record, and welcome.
Bill Carr, 47 Blakely Road. Back in 2000, I just want to talk about the fields because I'm going to give maybe a little history of how it came about and then where it is and where it needs to go. So in 2000, I got together a committee, George Scarpelli, Jay Sharami, Emery Callahan, Irwin, Sue DeRose, Suzanne Higgins. We got together down in South Medford, put together a team of people. We had a big meeting, a lot of people were there, and we decided to get something together. We started a 401c3 nonprofit to raise money to see if the fields could even be built. So we don't need to get all the history, but we end up going through the process, and I did get a call right at the very beginning, maybe 6 months in. We had raised about $50,000 privately to do the engineering to see if this would work. I got a call, there was a cell phone tower option at the field that was looked at, and no one wanted to touch it. So I took it on with George and a few other people, and we had a $1.6 million bid that went out. There was a $600,000 check written out to the city of Medford with $1 million to come back in over 10 years. At that point, one person had complained that we were going to lose 2 parking spots. We had to move the cell phone tower down to another area and went back out to bid. That was in 2000, 2001, and that's just about when the economy was starting to head down the tubes. And when it went back out to bid, it came back at less, and then it went back out to bid, and then eventually nobody bid. So the city of Medford really lost $1.6 million by moving it 100 feet to the right. But that's past history. We can go back and revisit that. That cell phone tower option is still available to the city today. Nobody's taken it on. Maybe that's what we'll look at. Maybe it's only worth $800,000. So that's one option. Anyway, the fields were built 2000, and when they were cut, the deal with the council, in fact, Brianna, and she was one of the first people to come forward and actually donate to the fields. Because I know I got the check in the mail. She was one of the first ones. So the deal with the fields was the kids from the city of Medford at the high school had to have field priority. They came first, whatever Bobby Maloney's needs were at that time. The youth sports came second, and all the private organizations came third. So I'm not sure about the dome as far as, but maybe that rule should apply, that if there are needs for the kids in Medford, they got to come first, and then the outside forces. So there's got to be maybe an equal playing ground up there. But again, that company's a private company coming in, they're looking to make as much money as they can. Well, anyway, so fast forward to, this time, 6 years later, the fields last 10 to 15 years. I did 2 years of study and research and all kinds of information I had to go get. So they are 10 to 15 years is kind of the life cycle, but 15 on the outside. But the fields over the last 6 years haven't been maintained properly. I'm not saying who's responsible. That's not really what I'm here for. They have not been groomed properly. You need to groom those fields 2 to 4 times a year. Do a GMAC study. Suck up all the pellets and all the dirt and then put it back down. There's companies that do that. That's about $10,000. It hasn't been done yet. So you guys want to put a dome over the field that has been maintained for 6 years. You can have all the domes you want. If you don't maintain what's been there for 6 years, then we're going to be ripping that field up quicker than we need to. So maybe that should be put in, as the budget's coming up, put the $10,000 in the school committee, put it as a budget item. Start doing it now so we can get 15 years, not 11, because in 5 years from now, or 6, or however long the longevity, if you do that GMAC study, they'll tell you how long those fields will last once you do that study, and I believe that study is around $1,200 to do that. Then they'll tell you the length, and they'll also tell you how much it's going to cost to rip those up, which is approximately $400,000 to rip those fields up and put down 2 new fields. So that's going to happen very shortly. What should happen, what the city should do, is take every hourly fee that's charged up there, whatever it is, $175 or $200 an hour, and add a user fee. Call it what you want, $20 an hour. And that should go, the money should go to pay the bond, but that fee should go off. So then in 6 years, when you need the $400,000, we're not going out to get another bond or trying to raise money to do that. So that should be put off to the side as a separate fee. This is my opinion. I'm not telling you how to do your job, but I'm just saying that should be done so that you're not going to be chasing that money in 6 or 7 years. The other option, if you go up there, because I designed the fields, when you go up the top of the stairs, you look to the left, you look to the right, there's a track. And between the track and the edge of the fence is about a 6-foot area of grass. That grass was left there for one reason. There's going to be alumni bricks going there, okay? That was a program that was all set up. I had it all ready to go. We had alumni lists all the way back to the 60s. We had approximately between $500,000 to $1 million on alumni bricks that people wanted to buy. Because you remember back in the 60s and 70s and even the 80s, Medford High had classes of 1,000 or better. Rick knows, right? Okay, so that money, I was told that the alumni at the high school, they're going to have their own organization, and they would kind of run with that, but that never got off the ground. But that's still a viable option. There's a lot of money, and a lot of families would buy a brick up there and line both sides, left and right. There's enough room up there for, 3,000 or 4,000 bricks. at so much per family brick or individual. You've seen them at Fenway Park, they're all over the place. And Medford's a proud city. Those bricks could be sold, and I had the list all the way back 50 years. So that's another option. So there are ways to prepare for 5 or 6 years from here, from this down the road, to rip these fields up and put new turf down. The other option that no one looked at, and when I was in the many negotiations with Mike McGlynn over the many times when we went back and forth on things, we had an option. We could have lights, or we could have had a third field off to the left. The third field would be about a 60-yard field, half a football field, a 6v6 soccer field, and maybe extend the parking lot out for a little more parking up top. That would bring more rental in. So if you're going to rip it up, you're already there. You can do another 60 yard. That brings in another $150 an hour. It's just grass. It's just overgrown weeds. It's doing nothing up there. It's just sitting there. And all you have to do is put another bank of lights off to the left and come right on that field. So those are the other options that we talked about. So there's a lot of ways. And I'm not for or against the bubble because I haven't seen what they're actually trying to do. But you can do all the bubbles you want. You need to look at out of the box and look at the other options for raising money besides the bubble. Remember, when you put a private company into a public school, there's a negative and a positive there. They're going to make money, but their main goal is to make money. If they can give the money back to the city, let's use it. Let's put a parking lot up there. Let's get rid of the skateboard park, which is unsafe and in a bad location. Let's move that to another location and make parking up there. Move that to a location it's safer and more accessible and more visible for the kids. That's a bad spot for young kids up there right in the woods. That's not a good spot. And you could put another 50 to 100 spots there easily and move that. They've been talking about moving that skateboard park for 10 years. So there's all these things that are going along. And now I hear about the bubble. Like I said, I'm not for or against it, but you've got all these other things that you're not looking at, and that needs to be looked at by the city. And I'd be happy to reinvestigate the cell phone tower, since I know all the players, and maybe it's, at the time, George, right, we were there at the meeting. The guy flew up, the president of American Tower flew up from Maryland. He says the 4th most valuable spot on the East Coast. So that tells you that it's probably still a valuable spot. Maybe not the numbers they gave us were probably maybe a little inflated, but I think there's something there. And we did our study. We had an MIT people come in about the radiation. We had a meeting with all the neighbors. They were all for it. It was going to be a monopole with a flag. It was going to be very well done, and there's plenty of room to do it. So that's something that I think you need to get behind. And if anybody, I have the history all the way through, so I kept all my records. If you have any questions, if not, those are all food for thought, but somebody's got to do some of this stuff, so.
Thank you, Mr. Carr. Chair recognizes Vice President Longo-Carr.
Thank you, President Del Russo. So just take me back, Mr. Carr, thank you for the education, especially with regards to the maintenance.
You can call me Bill. My father's
Bill.
Mr. Carr. That's fine.
The maintenance, I think, is what I kind of grabbed from what you discussed, and I obviously have a problem with it, and I think that's another reason why it's somewhat related to city business. We voted for a bond, and we asked that a maintenance budget be put aside. Same with the pool. We asked that 5% per year. I don't know if it was of the income. I can be quoted probably differently than we actually, wrote it down, but there was supposed to be maintenance on the fields. So 6 years.
Yes, it was supposed to be maintenance in the fields. Medford does a horrible job with maintenance in the general sense. Schools, streets, fields. We don't do a good job. We don't have a good plan in place.
I don't think anybody here is in a position to speak about what the maintenance plan is at the field. I'm sure there is a maintenance plan in place, but I don't think anybody knows what it is. I mean, Billy, I know you well, and I question as to whether or not he knows whether or not they go out there and groom the field once a week or not.
They do.
You know what I mean?
I can speak to that, because when I took over the fields, Mayor McGlynn said, I need somebody to run the fields. I volunteered for a year. I took the fields over. I volunteered. I didn't make a dime. I hired 10 people. We had a sweeping machine that just grooms the field. And that's supposed to do that weekly, and those guys do that. That's what they're told to do. Then apparently Joe Crowley comes up and he sweeps the fields twice a year. He's just sweeping it. It's not the deep cleaning, it's not the cleansing that needs to happen. It probably just was overlooked. I'm not saying, I don't know who was responsible for getting that, but that's a budget item, that's money that has to be spent, so those fields can get the extra 5, 6 years we need.
Right.
So.
To say that they sit there and just don't get treated at all,
No, I didn't say that. No, they get treated. I just said we don't do a good job with maintenance. I know they get treated. I was there. The machine came in. I know all about it. And it's been done. The guys do a nice job up there. In fact, the workers up there, and they're all, I know them all. They're all making $12 an hour. They should be up to 15, by the way. So they're getting,
Madam
they're
Vice
up there.
President-
It's 20
Madam
below
Vice
zero. Up there, they
President,
should make
you
it
have the
15,
floor.
but that's just my opinion.
But the deep cleaning they were supposed to do for $10,000 2 to 4 times a year has never been done.
As far as I know, it's never been done. So it needs to be done. You can start as soon as the budget, you put a line item in there. Let's do that so we can get some extra years out of this field. It's not anybody's fault. It just slipped through the cracks. No one saw it. They were grooming what they were told to do, but no one took the time to do the extra step, that's all. And I'm trying to get some extra years out of it, that's all.
If I may amend my resolution, just to ask what funding has been used to maintain the fields within the last 3 years?
As amended by Council Vice President LaCurran to include a question of what funding has been used.
I believe it's, Council, now you could well be, I think it's been twice a year with Joe Crowley. Crowley's Clippers has been grooming it, doing a deeper sweep, but we need to take that extra step, that's all.
And, Mr. President.
Madam Vice President has the floor still.
That's it for now, thank you.
Councilor Knight.
Mr. Carr was one of the first people, I was here supporting the cause as a citizen back in, what was it, 2004? 2000? 2000, the year 2000. And if I remember correctly, the field's been opened up in 2002?
Fall of 2000.
Fall of 2000.
The bond was
Open.
approved in February of 2000. The field's open in September of 2000.
So we're at year 16 now anyway, so I think the shelf life on the field, no? Right, we're way
2010, excuse me.
Yeah, 2000, I was going to say, yeah. I was like, that doesn't,
2010,
yeah,
February 2010. Yeah, and then we opened it, yeah, fall of 2010, excuse me, I'm off by 10.
So 2008 it went out, 2010
Correct.
opened, that
We're heading into our seventh year.
7th year.
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's it. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilor Scarpelli.
Just to follow up, I know this is what, part of what I do for a living. So, to be honest with everyone here, the maintenance of a field, what was true to be a maintenance of a field was the vacuuming 2 times a year by Joe Crowley and what they do. I personally met with a company last week that has a true understanding of what you're supposed to do, and they would come in to do all the tests that are needed. And one test that's very important is a concussion impact test, whether our facilities are safe enough for our kids because of the pellets that were added, what's not added. And it's something to the point where that was quoted for us was $6,000, and they would come in, and what they would do is the true maintenance where they would suck up all the pellets, re-sweep the fibers so they're upright again, and then re-enter the pellets. And then with that, you would get a certified study that would make sure that you are covered by insurance and so on. So that's something, as we move forward, I know that one of the things we talked about, and one of the things Mr. Carr said, when I talked to some of the school committee members, they're also coming out Monday with a detailed plan of all the facilities and funding and what each facility would cost. I personally think that we in Somerville, what we charge is $185 per hour flat fee. And that's something that I would like to see the school committee look at, maybe increasing the fee for non-resident programs. So the BSSCs, the club soccer programs that make money, that come in and fund that to help pay for maintenance and pay for turf recovery as we move forward. This is what we're doing, and we hope that as Monday's meeting comes out, would spell out a lot of what we're trying to think of. Again, this is easy, and I point back to a resolution I made last week. This is easy when you have a recreation department that oversees the fields, the maintenance, the budgeting, the rentals, the employees, soup to nuts. When we have one person doing 6 jobs, this is where it's difficult. So it's going to come time that, we should, and I'm anxious to see what we have for a recreation plan going forward, but it's going to be interesting to see where we're going to go with this, because I want us to look outside the box and think maybe sometimes spending a little money is going to save us a lot of money as we move forward. So, again, I appreciate Mr. Carr. I know everything you've done. I will tell you what I've been told what's done at Medford High School is something very important to me, many different levels. I was part of this program when it started. My son will be playing at the high school in a few years. It's very important that we do the right thing and hope that there's safe turf and safe fields for our kids to play on for years to come. So I would love to share what I know with the school committee with plans, and it's not $10,000, it's $6,000 per field for the whole plan. And that's every season coming in, doing 2 deep cleanings, doing 2 vacuums that what Crowley does now, and sweeping and adding pellets when needed. So it's a pretty intricate system, but thank you for listening.
Thank you, Councilor. Chair recognizes Councilor Marks.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank Bill Carr Jr. for coming up tonight. He was one of the biggest advocates that I recall back in the days when the Field of Dreams was in its infancy. And, you know, I just want to say, Mr. President, that we're discussing a bubble top. And in my opinion, we should be discussing books in the schools that are 25 years old. We should be discussing the fact that teachers don't have proper supplies. We should be discussing the deplorable condition of the restrooms at the high school. I'd venture to say probably 60 or 70% of the bathrooms in the high school are physically locked because they're in deplorable condition. The water fountains don't work throughout the high school, and that may be a good thing because of lead pipes that we have throughout this community. So that may be a positive thing that they're not working. We have a leaky roof. I was up there several weeks ago watching my son play a basketball game, and they had to navigate between barrels because the roof was leaking. These are the issues we should be discussing, and in my opinion, I'm not pro or con of a bubble top. I haven't seen the proposal, but I could just tell you from firsthand experience, serving as a member of the school committee, that when we had the swimming pool up and running back some years ago, and the lack of resources and the lack of upkeep on the pool, and we rented it out to all the surrounding neighborhood communities to use our Olympic-sized swimming pool, over the years it deteriorated. And we got to a point where we couldn't use the swimming pool for, I think it was roughly 8 years. That went unused because of the lack of maintenance. It was great to rent it out, and God knows where that rental money went. It sure didn't go back into the swimming pool. But that's the issue I have. You know, rentals sound great. Bringing in outside money sounds great. You know, we've been renting out the high school every Saturday for the past 25 years. There's over 700 people every Saturday. I'd ask anyone in the community to go up, and you can't get a parking spot up at the high school. And it's a great program they run up there, the Japanese Language Arts program. And they have complete run of the entire high school. However, Mr. President, I don't see any benefits over the years that we can say, well, this program has put in a new roof, or this program repaved the parking lot, or this program helped us do X, Y, and Z. I have yet to see any of that, Mr. President, and it's great to rent out the high school and our middle school and the pool and the Field of Dreams, and that's great. But without, as Mr. Carr mentioned and Council Longo, without the proper maintenance, which this city has a poor track record, we're going to be putting good money after bad money after renting these facilities out. And I, as one member of this council, I remember the bond funding that needed for the Field of Dreams. And I, as one member of this council, Mr. President, rather see the local use. Yeah, we might not make as much on it, you're right. It may not be, but we're not in the business in this community to make money, to rent out fields. We're not in the, that's rent City Hall out. I mean, we're not in the business of renting facilities in this community. We're not in the rental business. I want to make sure the fields are there, the fields are safe, and they're in great user condition for our athletes, for our students, for our intramural teams, and so forth. That's what I'm concerned about, not renting it out to these outside places that have no affiliation, just want to use it as a space. And I don't know, Mr. President. I have a lot of reservations with that. You know, the determination is up to the school committee, and good luck to them. Apparently, they don't need any money from this council, so they're going off on their own, and good luck to them. But, you know, let's take a look at the high school. Let's get our current needs underway. If that high school was shipshape, Mr. President, I wouldn't even made this speech tonight. But I can tell you firsthand, having 2 children at the high school, I don't know when the last time you've been up to high school, but I have 2 children that go there on a daily basis. And when they don't have a restroom to attend, when the bubbler doesn't work, when books they come home with look like they're from ancient Egypt, there's a problem, Mr. President. There's a problem with what's going on for the basic necessities. And when teachers can't muster together paper and pencil and the basics, there's a concern. So I thank Mr. Carr for coming up, and I thank Council Longo for putting this on, and I think we should all be getting a copy of this RFP or a draft of the RFP, whatever it is, so we're informed when we get the calls from residents.
Thank you, Councilor. Chair recognizes Councilor Caviello.
Thank you, Mr. President. As we all know, I think maintenance has been the Achilles heel of this whole city for many years. And Councilor Marks is right. We rent out the school, we rent out everything to everybody, and I agree. We come up with some creative findings to get the bubble. We're thinking out of the box. Time we start thinking out of the box, to take some of this, like I said, take some of this rental money, reinvest it back into the community. I say the money from the Saturday rentals at the high school. Some of that money should be going back into the high school to do repairs. No one even mentioned the new field at Hormel Stadium. We only talked about the field up at the high school, Hormel Stadium. I don't know what we've done over there. So I'm sure that needs the same. If there's been the attention has been lacking over there, I'm assuming that the same attention is lacking at Hormel Stadium too. Am I correct? I appreciate Councilor Scarpelli's expertise. Yeah. I think we got too many. I think we got maybe too many groups, all fighting in different ways. I think it's about time that we come together under one roof, put everybody, so we can, and maybe develop a solid plan to move forward on these type of projects, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Caviello. Chair recognizes Councilor Scarpelli.
If I can, I applaud my colleagues. So this is a very hot topic. This is a very important topic, and I think that's something we all recognize. And what I recognized 6 years ago on the school committee is the lack of a maintenance plan that needs to be in place, and I think that we should be working on that. But if we can recall back some odd years ago, and I think Mr. Carr can attest, the reason why we did these fields and the reason why we could do these fields, at the time, it wasn't going to be funded by the taxpayer. The whole idea was a grassroots effort by the community to come out and make sure that our kids that were playing on dangerous fields at the time were going to play on safe fields and given the opportunity for our community. And the only way to do that, the realistic way to do that, is to strike a balance where there was rentals and giving our opportunity for our kids to play on those fields. And that was the only way that there was the balance. Unfortunately, to say that we would go and just build this and make it happen, it wasn't going to happen. We know it. We lived it. There was no way the administration was going to let that happen. So we had to look at that, think outside the box, be creative so our kids weren't playing on a dangerous field. Because you know what? Most of that time, those fields were closed because they were dangerous. Let's not forget that. To say that, and not putting words in my colleague's mouth, but not looking at books and looking at pens and pencils and paper, to me, that's not fair. For 6 years, I was on the school committee trying to make sure we had checks and balances. We never let a teacher go. Our classroom size is the best in the Commonwealth, and our programs are thriving. We have a beautiful science building. We have a beautiful pool. We have a beautiful place. Now, don't get me wrong. There are definitely issues there. Bubblers, you're right. Bathrooms, you're right. But I'd love to see a maintenance plan moving forward. Council, you're correct 1,000%. But to insinuate one rather than the other, it's not fair. We needed these fields to work. And the only way to make them work is find a balance from outside and what we have inside. And talking to these youth organizations, our youth organizations, sure, they'd like to be there every single night and play for free. But the realistic issues are, if we wanted them, this is what we needed to do. And this wasn't George Scarpelli, school committee member, this wasn't George Scarpelli, city councilor, this was George Scarpelli, a parent of a child that wanted to make sure that our kids played on safe fields. That's what Billy Carr started back then, and this is what we went forward. Now, as we're moving forward, and you're talking in a bubble, whether it works or whether it doesn't, whether the RFP goes through, whether it doesn't, I applaud at least an effort that's creative, that's not coming out of taxpayers' pockets to pay for turf that might have to be, that will be replaced within 8 years. So, because that's going to happen, because in 8 years, if we don't think outside the box, if we don't think of a maintenance plan to put in place so we can identify funding that goes directly to the replacement, we're going to be sitting here in 8 years, hopefully, and we're going to be talking about where are we going to come up with $500,000 for each field at the time to replace a turf. That's all I'm saying. That's why I applaud that. This is what neighboring communities do. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have received a couple of calls and questions about this bubble project, and I think it's interesting. I think it has potential. But I do believe preventive maintenance is the key. I mean, when I was on the school committee, one of the big things, advocates I was for, is maintaining them and making sure that we maintain our buildings and make sure we basically provide preventive maintenance on a yearly basis. And back in the 2010, when I was first elected, I remember that was when I think Paul Edwards at the time came before us. He was the building and director, the school's buildings and directors director. And I said, what are we doing for preventive maintenance? They said, we're doing nothing. We don't have money in the budget.
It's a rolling plan, if you remember, John. They were doing this as they go, which wasn't.
Yeah,
right.
so, but I mean, I
Thank
will
you,
say,
Counselor.
some people may disagree. Over time, that has improved a bit. I mean, we've actually made some progress in that area. For example, filters getting changed on a regular basis, whereas before there were issues. So I mean, but preventive maintenance is the key to any project. In a project like this, it has to be the key. I mean, I remember Field of Dreams. It was the first thing I voted on when that was the first issue that came before us when we were elected in 2010, was voting for the Field of Dreams. I still think today it's a good vote. It's a great vote. And I think that we have to think about, when we think about education, we think of students, we have to think about well-rounded students. We need to make sure, we provide things both inside the classroom and outside the classroom. And I understand about the books. We do need to make sure our books are current. 25 years, I didn't know we had any that old. I knew we do have some old textbooks, but I didn't think they were that old. But and I'd love to know what class, we can talk afterwards, but I'd love to know what class has those, because we need to get the school committee needs to know that those have to be replaced. But I mean, it's we want to make sure we have well-rounded students. The fields are a great example of how our children and our students can actually use, get physical activity through sports and recreation, and it's important that we have, state-of-the-art facilities to do that. But for me, it comes down to preventive maintenance, and what I'd like to see is, if I can amend the resolution, is just to receive a business plan from the school committee as to what they're going to do as far as, how much is going to be charged, the plans to rent it out, I mean, how much is being set aside for preventive maintenance. So if we could add that to the resolution, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Ed?
If the school committee could give us the proposed business plan for the fields with regard to, with your charging the cost, how much is going back to preventive maintenance, basically the plan. What's the plan? I mean, I know we talked a little bit about the hours, who's going to be renting it out if possible. I mean, that type of thing, the type of programming that's going to be offered.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
So on the motion of Vice President Longo-Kern, be it resolved that the Medford City Council be given a draft copy of the edited and updated RFP that will be voted on by the Medford School Committee regarding the leasing of the Edgerly Field with, as amended, report to convey to us the funding that has been used over the years for the maintenance of the fields, and secondly, amended by Councilor Falco, that the proposed business plan be included in that communique. We have a citizen who wishes to readdress us.
Just have one more question. I've asked for the last couple of months, and maybe Council, how much money has come in on a yearly basis to the two fields behind Medford High School? Exact dollar figure. No one seems to get, no one knows that answer. I've asked everybody from the top, no one.
Point of information, Madam Vice President.
I'm sorry, you can finish. Maybe we should group this with a resolution that I put on 16475, in which I asked the very same question.
It's a little late for that, isn't it?
I have that answer at my house.
So, and I just want, I'll let someone else speak. I just want to say, my statement as far as the city doesn't do a good job, it's not anybody's fault. It's just it's an oversight that happens through many of the projects in the city and many of the situations. We don't do a good job of maintenance. We can stop it and get a $10,000 budget line item in this year so we can start doing the fields properly come this, so we can get the years. Because if I come back here in 3 years and we're still not doing it right, you're going to hear it, okay? And it's going to be embarrassing.
Thank you.
So we don't want to get that point. So let's do the right thing and keep them going for the next 5 or 6 years probably.
Good evening, citizen. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Robert Penter. I live at 0 Summit Road, Medford, Mass. Former member of this august body. My take on this is just a little bit different. We can talk about the maintenance, and it's quite obvious that the maintenance is an issue. But I'd like to get into the legality of the bond in and of itself. When the city of Medford went out for the bond in this particular field.
Point of information, Councilor Knight.
We're going to get into the legality of matters. I think I'd feel more comfortable if the city solicitor were present and would be able to provide us with that type of advice.
I would too.
Mr. President, my purpose of saying the legality of it is because I would like to ask a question, and I think it needs to be answered. The question is very simple. The city of Medford owns the property. Now, will the city of Medford own the dome that the renter wants to come in? And if that's the situation, I think it changes the whole intent of what the city of Medford's bond was all about. And that bond being for the exclusive use, again, of the fields, Medford folks and students first, and however the rentals take place. But you're now building a bond, you want to build a bubble, and the bubble will declare an ownership of authority of the person that has it. And the city of Medford will not have priority of the use of those fields. So I would hope one of you folks on the council would make that request to our city solicitor to ask him if in fact this is even legal to do, and what authority, if anything, does the city or will they have over the dome itself for the purposes of liability and for the purposes of its use. I think it's an important question to ask. I have no problem with the bubble, whether it goes or doesn't go. I think you need to have this legal question as it relates to this particular matter.
Thank you.
So I would hope somebody...
Please state the question, Councilor Marks.
The question is the liability of the bubble. Who would be responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of the bubble? In case of some type of disaster, what would happen? Would the city of Medford be responsible? Who maintains ownership?
On the motion of Councilor Knight, the additional, sir.
Also one.
Sir, councilors may only introduce motions on this floor. Only councilors may introduce motions on this floor.
I'm trying to clarify the motion, if you'd give me the courtesy. Also, the fact of the matter is, does this interfere with the bond that originally was written, therefore allowing, as such right now, the city of Medford entertaining a private entity to come in, use its field for its particular purpose, the dome? I think that question needs to be asked.
Thank you.
So moved, Mr. President, that that be asked.
And you can review that on the tape if you'd like.
Good evening.
Good
Please
evening.
state your name and address for the record.
My name is Carolyn Jones. I live at 32 Arlington Street. I was sitting back listening to the conversation, particularly about this dome and the field versus the educational side of public schools in Medford. And I think that the conversation sort of got askew because it's really very necessary for the students to have a place where they can be active, since I don't think that they really have that many gym courses to get them out to be active. But I think more important than that is the education that they get. I taught at Medford High School eons ago. I only taught for 1 year. The reason why I only taught for 1 year is that I'm a shoe freak, and I had all of these shoes, and standing on my feet, my feet grew like a size larger, and I said, I can't do this every year if I have to buy new shoes. And so I decided to move on, and I went into the private sector. But one of the things that disturbed me when I taught was that I taught history and civics, and the books were antiquated. And so I had some relatives who were educators, and I said, and they didn't live in Massachusetts, and I said, what books can you send me that I can use to teach civics and history in a way that I want the students to understand it? And they sent me some books. Now, they sent me books for me to use, so that meant that I had to spend more time developing the script for the courses that I taught. And my classroom was next door to the senior submaster's office. And I was told that that was where they put first-year teachers because he thought that they could not control themselves or the class. And about halfway through the year, he came and he stood in the back of my class, and at the end of the class, I said, is there something I can help you with? And he said, I never hear any noise coming from your class. And I said, that's because you're not supposed to hear any noise. And I developed my own curriculum for what I taught the students that I thought would keep them interested in history and civics, because I know that those are not classes that most students liked. Fortunately, when I was in high school, those were my favorite classes. I think that Medford High School, all of Medford schools, need to keep up in terms of the books that you use, the curriculum that you help the teachers design, whether they do it on their own, whether they do it collectively. But I was just disturbed by the conversation that it was like either you get new books and the teachers don't have to buy their own paper and pencils, or you put in this big dome. I mean, there must be some way that you can talk about it collectively and come up with a solution that provides both things. And for myself, I mean, I think that things that are around athletics are important, but if there was one choice, I would make the choice that it go towards the academic side, because that's what the students are going to need when they graduate from school. And if they haven't gotten the basics while they're in school, they're not really going to get a good job or get into college once they get out of school. So that is all I have to say. I hope that you'll take what I've said under advisement, and if you need any more information from me, you can give me a call. Some of the people who come down to the West Medford Community Center know me from there. Councilman Falco and his partner. I think I've seen you before, Councilman Marks, but I didn't know what your name was, but I do know those two. Huh?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. So on the motion of Vice President Lungo-Curran, as amended by Vice President Lungo-Curran, Falco, and Marks, roll call vote has been requested.
Counsel Caviola. Yes. Counsel Falco. Yes. Counsel Knight. No. Vice President Lungo-Curran. Yes. Counsel Marks. Yes. Counsel Scarpelli. No. President Del Russo.
No. With the vote of 4 in the affirmative, 3 in the negative, the motion passes. Motion for suspension of the rules. Can we have 2 cab drivers here to have quick business? Huh? What? No, the one was tabled and one was... On the motion of Councilor Vice President Lungo-Curran to take paper out of order, 16474, offered by Vice President Lungo-Curran. Be it resolved that the issue of public safety in South Medford be addressed as it relates to parking on sidewalks and any other related issues. Madam Vice President.
Thank you, President Del Russo. I know that I sound like a broken record with regards to bringing this up every month or so, and I know the council, we get repeated emails from neighbors and phone calls from neighbors in the Harvard and Main Street area, and I know that we have a committee working on certain issues within that area, but a resident would like to speak, and I think it's definitely relative and definitely needed. It seems like we're getting nowhere. I bring it up time and time again. Parking on sidewalks. We have bus stops in that area. We have children. We have senior citizens in that area. And just the neighborhood. When you have a Mack truck pulling up onto a sidewalk, somebody could get hurt. Somebody could get seriously injured. And for some reason, it's fallen on deaf ears. I said it before, and I'll say it again. I mean, I've been to a traffic commission meeting to try to address this, and it just seems like nothing's getting done. And I know it has to come from the top. I mean, it has to come, the administration has to rule on this one way or another. So we haven't got anything in writing with regards to this being allowed, but from what I understand, when residents and people call and ask for enforcement, some people are told that this is allowed. I don't think it's right. I think we need to find a way for the business district and the neighbors to coexist in a safe manner. A safe manner. So whether that's a committee of the whole meeting with the chief of police and the neighbors and the business owners, we need to figure something out to alleviate this safety concern that so many have. Not just, we do get emails repeatedly, pictures all the time, so we see it, we drive by, we see it happening, and it's an unsafe situation that needs to be resolved. We need some enforcement, and we need to figure out a way to work on this together as a community as a whole. You know, whether we pinpoint whose cars and whose trucks are making deliveries. You know, I see the pictures. I don't know exactly, but you know, you have a feeling you know who it is. Well, let's figure out whether it be a loading zone, and I think there is a committee working on that. Maybe we can get some updates on that, but something needs to relieve the stress of people who want to traverse the sidewalks, maybe go grab a pastry at Arthur's Pastry, but are scared to walk on Medford's sidewalks.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Chair recognizes Councilor Scarpelli.
If I can shed some light on this, I know that, and I appreciate Council President, Vice President Longo-Kern bringing this up again, and we are actively working with Subcommittee on Transportation just to shed a little light. We have met with the T and the DOT about talking about moving or eliminating or temporarily moving a few stops that were in question, and we had a subcommittee meeting last week to discuss those issues that directly relate to this issue, and they're getting back to us hopefully very soon about looking into a study, what times would be it would take. So they're doing a time study and distance study, they're doing a ridership study, and we're talking and filling everybody in. I know the Disability Commission is very involved, and we're making sure that every resident is heard. So I wanted to make sure, with that issue being said, that led me to a meeting today with our council liaison, Lauren Felch, and she was very helpful. Part of the discussions, and it was all predicated on the efforts of our resident, Mrs. Ann Fretz, who's been working diligently for the neighbors in South Medford. When we had our first tour of that facility in that area of concern, one being Harvard Street, and having residents that were pregnant, and the trucks pulling up and idling in front of where the children's bedroom would be, ended up being very dangerous. And I think that meeting today with Ms. Felch and talking about a simple fix and something we talked to the residents and that neighbor in particular, and Ann and some other folks, that putting planters along Harvard Street, to something simple as planters, just to eliminate that concern, and decorative planters, that I got a word back this afternoon that would happen relatively soon. The mayor supports that, and that's going to be done immediately. So I appreciate that, and the other issues, and like my fellow colleague Vice President Longo-Kern mentioned a meeting with the business owners in that area and the neighbors. I think that's something that they also discussed that they're trying to work with. We were hoping that, I know the chief was trying to make it here tonight to answer some questions. I believe Kim Fowler is here from Department of Health to also answer a few questions about another concern, which is the dumpster issue. And I know they've already been working that. Mr. Bavuso has already talked to the company today about the issue that you brought forward, and really appreciate that. I believe they were picking up the trash, I believe 3 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And one of the biggest issues that will come in front of this council with Ann's persistence and her devotion to these concerns, are looking deeply into the ordinances, both on trash pickup and for loading and at different businesses that reside in residential communities. So I think that's going to be vetted out, and I think that's going to be coming to this body relatively soon. So I appreciate the mayor's office today meeting with me and listening and moving forward on a couple of these issues. And again, I appreciate Ann, and I know that you deserve to speak, and I know that this has been a lot of hard work on your end. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Chair recognizes Councilor Carviallo.
Mr. President, I'll yield to the young lady.
There's no yielding. Hi. Please state your name and address for the record, and welcome.
Anne Marie Fretz, 215 Harvard Street. Actually, it's 50 Yale Street, but the numbers don't work out that way. This is a photo taken this week from in front of 159 Harvard Street. You can't see the window where a newborn, a 2-week-old, is sleeping at this point with his parents. This is what it looks like every day in front of that place at any given time. And this is what the sidewalk looks like. What this indicates is someone has driven across the sidewalk, and what I saw last Thursday, I believe, was a school bus letting the children out at 2:30 while this person was driving, actually it was his partner, driving on the sidewalk across Main Street and across Harvard Street. No, there is no loading dock. All we have is sidewalks. That's why we need the MBTA slot. And I spent 2 hours along with Jim Silva at the Traffic Commission today asking for 4 parking spaces to be freed up and designated as a loading zone for this particular person. So, or for this particular area, actually. It's not just one business. It is a group of businesses that are impacting our area in a negative manner. It's unfortunate that the neighbors are the last people to be considered when we're operating a booming square of business. And I believe that Mr. Dela Russa is aware of it. Mr. President, you can probably speak to that as well. It's throbbing down there at times. So we have a situation where public safety is at risk and the quality of life is being impacted. I was going through some documents and I came across this document from 6 years ago when we first looked at our condominium. And it is a great place to live. Lincoln Kennedy is why I'm here, because I want to maintain what we have at our property. Unfortunately, because of the delivery zone and trailer trucks driving down Harvard Street and unloading at specific places and then buying lunch, they need a place to eat. What has happened is we've lost 12 trees that were planted on the sidewalk apron out in front of the Lincoln School and in front of the Kennedy School. Aggie Tuden was kind enough to come out, and the DPW director assisted today and said, we cannot have those trees replanted. It doesn't make any sense. The apron is too short. The trees will be taken out again. They are going to be cementing over the grass in front of our buildings, which will make more parking spaces for the trailer trucks, which is why we need more flower pots down in the area. Unfortunately, we're also being vandalized. The trees in front of the Kennedy buildings are being snapped off in between the trees, in the center trees. People are hanging up. They're doing the same thing to our U's on Yale Street, which may sound silly, but when you find chunks of the main core thrown onto the sidewalk, it is an issue. So we've got drivers and owners parking and driving on the sidewalks, using them extensions of the streets, encouraging the vendors to park there as well. And the people who live at 159 have gone out and asked these vendors to move their trucks, and they said that the businesses in question have told them to park there. They can't move. That's where they have to unload. There's nowhere else that they can unload. We've been impacted greatly by this for the last 3 years now in an ever-increasing mountain of just stuff happening to us. And it's not that we've kept it quiet. I don't know how many times I've been before this council, 6 possibly, discussing this same issue. But yet, in all the emails I've sent out to everyone, and the emails and contacts with the phone calls I've made to Lauren, to Linda Coletti, trying to get in touch with the mayor, copying the chief of police, I have yet to receive a phone call or email from the mayor's office. And what really upset me is that looking at the mayor's 2015 platform to campaign to be the mayor for public safety, she had to, you can find this on the website, it's to continue to invest in the safety of our community. Our sidewalks aren't safe. I mean, it's a basic. We have children who live at Lincoln Kennedy who walk on the sidewalks while these trailer trucks are driving down. We have people living in the condominiums and in the homes that are right next door to Commerce. We could call it an industrial zone because it really is truly based on the number of things we have going on. But what concerns me about this is that it says core to our continued investment in the infrastructure of our community is the safety of our citizens. First and foremost, we need to investigate avenues for improved public safety facility. Absolutely. This is vital to moving our community forward. In addition, we will need to conduct traffic pattern studies at major intersections throughout the city to improve the ability for residents to move within and throughout the city safely. The following locations will be a focus. South Medford Business District is not there. The closest one is 3/4 of a mile away, the Tough Square intersection of Main and Medford Streets. There is nothing, despite the fact that last October, a Mr. Ernest Martinello was run over while he was crossing he was crossing Main Street. He was in the hospital for a month. He was in rehab for 5 months. I haven't verified this myself, but was someone who he shops with on a daily basis. We don't know the circumstances other than he was out in front of Gagney Insurance in the crosswalk and was hit by a car. The chief is aware of this and is checking into it for us. My concern is there will be more accidents before something happens. If you stand at the stoplights and try and cross the street, even pushing the button, people will turn right on red while you're in the crosswalk. It's a very dangerous area, and yet it is not on Mayor Burke's list. I have yet to hear from Mayor Burke. I have yet to get a return phone call from Lauren or from anyone else in the entire staff. I looked at the history of who has responded and who has...
You shut off your mic. There you go.
There, just shut. Thank you. And it's this council. And the chief of police has tried. Sergeant Rich Carroll has tried. Captain Alan Doherty have tried. But as the chief said today, you can drive by these areas 6 times a day, and maybe a truck will be there, maybe it won't. I happen to see them on occasion. I take a picture, and I send it, and I call the police. My new process is to call the police, call the mayor's office, and send them a picture. That's the best we can do. But we just want to be safe. We want to be able to walk the streets, walk our dogs, enjoy life, and live in a great place, continue to live in a great place that's maintained. The sidewalks are a mess. We can't wait 2 years, 3 years to have a street fixed. We're starting to trip over the cracked sidewalks. The sidewalk that was repaired across the street from your house next to 363 Main Street is already cracked. There's already grease from trucks driving over it to pick up a dumpster, which is slippery when wet. I pointed that out today to the city DPW director. We don't know what can be done, but I appreciate everything that you're trying to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Point of information, Councilor Scarpelli.
And I think if we can, I'd like to make a call tomorrow and maybe see if we can set something up with the mayor's office, with the police chief. I know Ms. Fowler's here tonight, and someone from her office, that, you know, I want to move this in the right direction. I think the response I got today is something positive. I think, you know, with what you're dealing with, I think it's very important to follow up on a couple of issues that a fellow colleague, Mr. Marks, has worked so hard with, is bringing the light of crosswalks and painting throughout our community, and something that Mr. Falco and I were at the meeting, was it last Thursday, with Open Streets, with the grant possibility, Complete Streets, and one of the things we talked about was South Medford and the safety. One thing we talked about, Mr. Marks, so you know, is we talked about priorities, and since you were on the forefront of talking about the painted sidewalks, and we were talking these crosswalks, and the lighting, and having visible lighting so people know that's going to attract the oncoming traffic, that this is a highly commuted area, that they have to pay attention. I think that's part of the Complete Street. So I think, and I believe, if Mr. Falco can correct me, I believe this all has to be in by June, correct? And it has to be done within 1 year?
I'm getting you.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
You are correct. There is actually a timeline or a time frame as to, I believe, the objectives of the plan have to be in place, and then it needs to be approved by the state, and then the funding will come, and then the money has to be spent by June 30th, 2017.
So this could be
There was a
some...
meeting in South Medford a month or so ago with the Business and Economic Development Transition Team, and May Burke was there and announced that her priority for spending the Complete Streets money was to address the intersection of Harvard and Main Street. She made that announcement at that meeting.
So to follow up, and if we can, you've championed this, and I appreciate it, and I think that let's move forward in a positive direction. Let's see if we can have a meeting, and let's see if we can all get together and put all the stakeholders at the table, that we're talking about the revitalization of Main Street in South Medford. If we're talking about the crosswalks and the possibility of using Complete Streets to make sure those are the priorities, and making sure that our streets are safe, because I think that's all of our intentions anyway. So, you know, if all I can ask is, this is new to me with this situation, give me another 48 hours, let's see if we can do something positive. So, and I appreciate it.
Councilman Caraviallo and mostly Councilman Mark,
Yep.
who championed a walk through our Fair Square, our Fair City down at our end of the neighborhood 18 months ago, and attempted to create a committee of the whole meeting to have a safety council, I think it was called. And that has yet to happen, and yet we've had support driving that forward. So if you
These
can
are
pull
great
this off, that
ideas.
would be great. And Councilman Caraviallo was on the walk with us as well. Councilman Knight asked to have, or suggested, a traffic study, which would have been great. That was last October, so it would have happened by now had we followed through on that. He was not voted through on that aspect of it. But there's been many things other than just the trailer trucks driving. We have dumpsters being picked up, as you said, at 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the morning. This is a 4-yard dumpster, a metal dumpster being picked up by a forklift and dropped outside of the bedroom wall of this young couple and their baby. This has been going on for years. I wasn't aware of it. And these kids have been in this condominium, and the condominium was purchased long before there was any expansion of restaurants or doubling the size of restaurants in the area. So it's unfortunate for these people.
If we can, and if, I know what, before you
And
brought
that-
off the
I'm
top,
leading it to- I'm leading
Kim's
it to
right
Kim.
behind you, so if she can.
That's-
Just real quick with that,
There's
that's
a couple
perfect.
more councilors that
Sorry,
want to
I
address.
apologize.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Knight.
Thank you.
Mr. President, there are several items and suggestions that we've kicked around in the past. This council, I believe, appropriated the prior council appropriated $1.4 million in funds for what would be called the Community Improvement Initiative, and part of that included portable safety cameras, portable security cameras that would be able to record and report back to our police department. And I had a brief conversation with Chief Sacco about it, and saying, we have 2 cameras, why don't we just set the 2 cameras up on Harvard and one on Main, right at the location, and then we can have a guy sitting in the police station sending them $300 tickets with the camera pointing at the car. I mean, at least that way they'll get the message. After a couple of tickets, they're not gonna park on the sidewalk anymore, and we don't even have to have somebody out there on the beep. All we have to do is have somebody who's maybe in the office on some downtime going through the paperwork, or weekly even, going through the tape and just putting the paperwork together and sending it out for those vehicles that we can't identify through that tape. Also, Mr. President, I think that we have a unique opportunity to work in concert with the Traffic Commission. Maybe we can establish certain hours for on-street parking and certain hours for loading, so that the same parking spots that are used for business parking are the same parking spots that are used for loading, and they're just restricted to certain hours in the day. So I think there are a number of different ways that we can look at this, and a number of different ways that we can approach this. And these are some suggestions that I'd like to send over to our Transportation Subcommittee, because I anxiously await their report on the issue.
There's also the loading zone on Yale Street that's amply available to people to use.
And I mean, I think that this council, since it's, swearing in January, has had more subcommittee meetings than we've had in 10 years. So we're out on the street, there's a lot going on, and we're working hard trying to get it done, but there are a lot of irons in the fire as well. But I think that Councilor Scarpelli's had at least 2 meetings on this committee that he's chaired. He's been down to the site at least twice, so I certainly feel as though we're in great hands. I mean, it's an enforcement issue, and that's what it sounds like. It's an enforcement issue. Nobody behind this rail can write a parking ticket. Nobody behind this rail can write a ticket. The only people that can do that are the police and our parking enforcement officers. So it's really an enforcement issue. If someone's parking on the sidewalk, they should be getting tagged. The Yale Street is not the only location. You're seeing it down on Middlesex Ave too, at Asian Taste, at the Older Roses. You're seeing it at a number of different places. You're seeing it around our parks when games are being played, where cars are starting to park halfway up on the sidewalk, to create a path, because they want to park close enough to the field, they don't have to walk too far, but their vehicle's not in the greatest spot. So I certainly can understand the frustration that Ms. Fretz has. I drive that stretch from Bob's to Lakash's, at least 25 times a week. That is one of the most frustrating intersections that we have in the community, Mr. President. It needs to be looked at, and we need to engineer it properly. I think that, all of us sitting, put a crosswalk here, move a bus stop here, do this, that's all well and good, but if we really take the appropriate steps and invest the funds in a traffic study or traffic engineer, I think that this is something that'll resolve itself. But we have to get to that point, Mr. President. So I want to thank Councilor Scarpelli for the work that he's done, and let Ms. Fretz know that I certainly understand her pain and anguish, because I drive through it too. But there are some options out there that we need to explore.
Thank you. Councilor Caraviello.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I've had the opportunity to work with Ian for the last 5 years. I've been on this council, probably from, I think, day one when I first got elected. And again, we have made some strides over there. I mean, it's not enough. I think everyone in this council has called John Bavuso in regards to the rubbish, the Board of Health in regards to the rubbish. They have been increased, but again, it's still not enough for the needs of the businesses over there. First and foremost, parking on the sidewalk is illegal. I think everybody knows that. Again, we have a parking company, okay? Instead of, listen, these Republic Parking can go out and tag these trucks. And instead of going around looking at smaller things, these are big ticket items. These are the things that they should be doing. Again, with 4 people patrolling the city, they drive by. I've seen them drive by when the trucks were there. Those guys should be pulling over and tagging the truck. I brought this up with Councilor Longo-Curran at many of the traffic meetings, that the Republic should be tagging these trucks. Again, Councilor Snyder's right. It's enforcement. If I had a ticket book, I could be famous in the city. Again, this council can't write tickets, but again, we have facilities for people that can write tickets. And like I say, we have a private company. They should be there. They drive by enough. They see it. Don't drive by it. They should be. The chief should force them to ticket these trucks when they're on the sidewalk. They're not there for 1 minute. They're there for 10, 15, 20 minutes, a half an hour sometimes. So again, and I say, we've worked with Councilor Scarpelli and our committee. We've worked hard to make strides, and we're trying our hardest. But again, it all revolves around enforcement, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Falco.
Thank you, Mr. President. I agree with my colleagues. I think enforcement is a major issue, but I also think it just comes down to traffic. And they offered a resolution back in February to hire a traffic consultant or a traffic engineer to come in and take a look at the situation. This situation is only going to get worse. And we just live in a section of the state where there's just tons of traffic. We need to have a professional come in and take a look at this. If you take a look at South Medford, you take a look at the Wegmans neighborhood down by the mall, the Shaw's development, the potential casino.
North Medford.
North Medford with that possible development at the Malden Hospital. It's happening all over this city. And we need to actually have a professional come in and take a look at this. We don't have a traffic consultant in this, or a traffic engineer in this city. We need to get some sort of help. And I think that this should hopefully be included in the budget this year, because I honestly feel this problem is going to get worse and it really needs to be addressed. I take a look at the emails that come in and the pictures. It's horrible. People parking on sidewalks. That's common sense. It's just not allowed. It's against the law. It comes down to enforcement, but traffic is a major issue. I really think that a traffic engineer needs to be consulted or hired, hopefully sooner than later, and hopefully in this budget cycle. And hopefully this issue gets resolved soon. So
We did a traffic study on Harvard Street back some 10 years ago, when before the building was built, or before it was reconverted.
I feel that we need something current, but we need to look at our whole city and look at all the traffic patterns in our city. We have some major traffic problems. They need to be addressed, and they're not going to go away. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. Welcome. Please state your name and address for the record.
Kimberly
You've been so
Fowler.
patient.
Kimberly Fowler. I'm a registered sanitarian for the City of Medford Board of Health, and I'm happy to be here tonight. I was introduced to Ann Fretz early this year. Approximately January 4th, we received an email about some overflowing rubbish at the Oasis Brazilian restaurant at 373 Main Street. I responded and conducted a routine full inspection based on her complaint, and the Oasis Brazilian restaurant was cited for errant trash, meaning trash that is not in dumpsters. There were some big oil bottles back behind the dumpster. So they were cited for that, and they were giving a warning ticket. I had also gotten in touch.
Point of information, Councilor Knight.
I don't want the people in the community to think that Oasis was cited for any cleanliness violations inside the store. Was there an inside inspection as well?
Yes.
There was, and everything came back fine from the inside. It was just the outside that was the concern with the dumpster?
No, but the violations, I'm talking about the violations that are relevant to Ann's complaint, and that was that everybody in Medford was due for an inspection, so her complaint prompted a full inspection inside and outside. So they were cited for the garbage issues outside.
Outside, okay.
Correct.
And the inside?
Among other things inside that aren't relevant to this topic. Okay. So I also wrote a cease and desist letter to Republic Services, the hauler, who was doing the early morning pickups, and they were cited, they were served a cease and desist order January 26th based on their violations of the Medford city ordinances, as well as the Medford Board of Health regulations, which regulate dumpster and licensing. So as of January 21st, I went back for a re-inspection to the Oasis Brazilian restaurant, and they were A-okay, everything was in good shape, which tells me that they're fully capable of taking care of their business and their trash, okay? So that was January 21st. On March 9, I gathered some more information from the Oasis restaurant, and that was regarding their pickup schedules, as well as their billing from Republic Services. They're on a 6-day-a-week pickup. We recently received a complaint from Ann in April, and then one yesterday, as of yesterday. And so this morning at 5 a.m., I was conducting my own surveillance at the new Oasis Brazilian restaurant to see if Republic Services was picking up trash. And I didn't see anybody, and I walked over, took a couple pictures, looked in the dumpster, and it was completely empty, which tells me that Republic was there sometime between close last night and 5 o'clock this morning to pick up the trash. They have already been cited. So
It was between 3:30 and 4, I heard it.
yeah, I can't even get up early enough to beat Republic. That's something else. I don't know how their drivers do that, but I did my best, 5 a.m. So we will continue to supply sufficient enforcement activities on Republic Services for the after-hours pickup, as well as on the Oasis Brazilian restaurant. When I went this morning, there were some violations of the food code and relevant to the trash that was collecting behind the business. There were several bags of trash just sitting on the ground. There was a 5-gallon bucket about halfway full of grease from the restaurant. I mean, I was tearing open trash bags, looking at the trash to see where it could have come from, and I am 99% certain it came from that particular restaurant. So we are working on this. We are on the case, and we'll continue to supply those enforcement efforts against Republican as well as and work with the Oasis Brazilian restaurant.
What does the regulation state as far as the pickup of the dumpsters? When is it permitted?
This is the Medford Board of Health Regulation Number 6, Dumpster Regulations and Licensing of Dumpsters. It states 6.9, Dumpster Management. 1, no contractor shall remove dumpster contents prior to 7 a.m. nor later than 8 o'clock p.m. And their cease and desist order that was served to Republic on January 26 states, you are hereby ordered to cease and desist operations within the city of Medford between the hours of 8 p.m. and 7 o'clock a.m.
Thank you very much. Councilor Knight.
Through you to Ms. Fowler, this isn't a dumpster that is located on private property, correct? And licensed through the Board of Health?
Yes.
Yes. So who is responsible for getting the permit? Would it be Republic or would it be the business owner that's
The business owner.
The business owner is responsible for getting the license for the permit?
Yes.
Okay, so now the business owner has a permit and the business owner has a contracted relationship with someone who's violating the terms of the permit on the dumpster.
Yes.
Right, and the result, the enforcement issue goes back to Republic, who is the provider, as opposed to the business owner, who is the permittee?
As far as the pickup times?
Well, you sent a cease and desist order to Republic.
Yes, it is
and
about the
Republic
pickup times.
is an organization that's contracted with Oasis.
Yes.
So if Republic keeps coming at 5 o'clock in the morning, and even if you see them, what can you do? Can you cite them? They're not the permitted entity, right? So who do you cite? Is there any ramifications?
Republic.
Is there
As
other
far as I know,
ramifications in you
we are
for the?
following up with Republic,
Okay,
yes.
and is there a mechanism to fine Republic? Is there a mechanism to?
As far as I know, it is my understanding there is a mechanism to find them.
Okay,
Yes.
but at no point in time is Republic actually required to register their product in our community
They have to register with the city of Medford as a licensed hauler.
as
Yes.
a licensed hauler?
Yes, and
Okay.
part of their cease and desist letter states.
It will jeopardize their other licenses in the
Yes, it
community.
would jeopardize their hauler's license.
Okay, all right, excellent. Thank you very much. I appreciate you clearing that up for me.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilor Scott Pelley.
If I can, I just want, I know that with this situation, your due diligence in going out there and picking through trash at 5 o'clock in the morning is very impressive, and I appreciate that effort. So again, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Do we have a motion on the floor? Madam Vice President.
Just briefly through the chair, I also just want to thank you for coming and giving us an update. It's more information and probably more enforcement than I've seen in a long time, so it's very appreciated.
Well, and we depend on the citizens. I can't be everywhere. I'm the only food inspector for over 300 licensed food establishments in the city. Plus I do pools and spas and complaints, and I help with tanning inspections, so I'm stretched pretty thin. So I appreciate Ann's tenacity. It helps keep me on the straight and narrow and helps me know who to keep an eye on. So I appreciate her efforts as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Vice President. And there's one more citizen who wishes to speak behind you. Welcome. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Robert Penta, 0 Summit Road, Medford, Massachusetts, former member of this board. I want to thank Council Longo-Kern for bringing this up, but more importantly, I'd like to thank the squeaky wheel of South Medford, Ann Fretz, because she's been fighting this battle for 5 years. And for 5 years, as Councilor Caviello said, some things have gotten better, some things have gotten worse, and some things haven't even been addressed. But I want to pick up on the second part of your resolution, Councilor, where you indicate "and any other related issues." In early spring of this past year, when the city had its street sweeping program, the city of Medford engaged in the South Medford area, as well as other parts of the city, in a tag and tow process. And then on April 29th of this immediate April 29th, the mayor of this community instructed the police department to stop tagging and towing as it relates to the street sweeping that was continuing on after that time to this day. Now, I don't know what the reason is for the stopping of the tagging and the towing, but anyone who got a ticket and was tagged and towed, as the gentleman who was here last week, they should get their money back. Every single person in this city who's been tagged and towed should get their money back because the mayor abruptly stopped on April 29th.
Former Councilman Penta bringing this up. One of the discussions this morning was the irate member of this community, and what they are recommending is that they will bring that ticket to the City Hall, and the talk is that they will be refunded if that's the case. So I thank you for bringing that up. So I think that there were some mistakes, and posting is one, and I think that that's something that will be rectified. Thank you for Mr. Lester, who came about in front of us last week, so thank you.
Well, the issue revolves more than Mr. Lester, revolves around everyone else that received a ticket. And subsequent to April 29th, on a Friday, when the police department was informed by the mayor not to give out any more ticket and tags, the police department still went down the street with the bullhorn, telling people the streets were going to be swept, but nobody was ticketed and tagged. Now, prior to that, during the early spring sweep, people were tagged.
Point of information, Councilor Knight.
Gentleman made reference saying that the mayor told the police not to give any tickets out or anything like that. I just wonder how we have personal knowledge of such a directive.
Sounds like hearsay to me, Councilor.
It is, and I spoke to the police department personally, and the council can check himself if he so chooses.
Point of
Also,
information,
Mr.
Councilor
President,
Knight.
Police department's a building, Mr. President.
well, you have your contacts over there, and anyone wants to refute what I'm saying, I'd be more than happy to apologize. But I'm not apologizing. The fact of the matter is, it did happen. We've had this discussion before, as it relates to sweet streeping here in the city. We have our tax bills. You have your water and sewer tax bills. Those go out. And whether you're the homeowner or the business owner or you're the rentor, it's up to the person who owns the property to instruct the person who's either renting in the homeowner or the business person who's there in that particular street for whatever it might be. If it takes a year, and this is what we talked about almost 4 years ago, if it takes a year to get into a street signage program where all the streets in this community are signed and everybody becomes aware of it, we won't have to talk about posting papers on a tree or stapling them in whatever you have. You have many opportunities. If you had public access here in this community, you'd be able to see it, but we don't have that. So what
Point
you
of
have
information, Councilor Knight.
I don't know if I'm having deja vu, but this sounds eerily familiar to the meeting we had last week and the same exact issues that we discussed there.
Thank you, Councilor.
It may be the same issues, but still nothing seems to be happening. And unfortunately, a whole host of individuals have been tagged and towed needlessly because, in fact, the mayor changed their mind, maybe because of the complaints, and that's all well and good. But if you don't have a stationary in-house program that's consistent, you can't pick on one week and then cancel it on another. So I would recommend to anyone who received a ticket prior to April 29, who was tagged and towed, go to City Hall and demand, because this administration stopped it. Can I finish, please, without you being so rude? Is it possible that you can, for once in your life, just stand there and be decent when I'm at this podium?
Sir?
That's my recommendation. I would hope the council, in some shape, manner, or form, consults with the administration, ask them for the purposes of, let this year go by. It's a big mistake that took place. Why, in fact, they stopped on April 29th. Why the police department no longer is tagging and towing for street sweeping, I don't know. But it's the mayor of this community right now that's done that, and anyone that's gotten the ticket prior to that, unfortunately, doesn't have any recourse unless they get some recourse from City Hall. Thank you.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Rodriguez. I live at 281 Park Street. I came out to support Ann in her efforts, but that's not the only corner in Medford that's got cars on the sidewalk. It seems to be the culture in Medford. You go on See Click Fix, and you'll see people posting police cars, other cars. Every car is on the sidewalk. I live on Park Street where the Roberts School is, and we have some wonderful parents that do the Walking Wednesdays, which just began last week. And the walking school bus walked up Park Street, and my daughter waited for the walking bus to come by, and they all squeezed by the car that's on the sidewalk. I posted See Click Fix a month ahead and said, you know, Walking Wednesdays are coming. Maybe this car could move. It hasn't moved in 2 months. Maybe they could drive around the corner. Barry Clementi responded back, I'll drive by and see. So he comes, he radios in that he's coming down. They come, they move the car. He drives by, takes a picture, posts it, and says there's no car. Within an hour, the car's back. He doesn't come back for a week. The car doesn't move for a week. He radios in again. 4 times he did this. I said, maybe don't radio in and just go. So he did that. He went, he knocked on the door, and someone came out who I'm told works for the city. I can't verify that. And said, oh, my mother's elderly, and it's easier for her if we park on the sidewalk. But we'll leave enough room for a pedestrian to get by, a pedestrian.
Point of information, Councilor Knight.
Ms. Rodriguez was here before this council, and this very same issue came up when we discussed it. We sent a correspondence to the administration, and we asked the administration as to what the status was for that piece of property across the street from this house that she
No,
refers
not
to.
that. Not that side of the street, no.
It's a different side of the street,
This
so.
is the side of the street where the houses are on.
Okay, so it's
He
the
already claimed that
same-
sidewalk.
It's the
Now he
same
wants the
people,
other
same
sidewalk.
people, different side of the street now.
But he's been parking on that sidewalk for 5 years.
All right, okay, so, because we
No,
got report
this
back
is
that.
the residence
We got
side.
report
All
back
right.
that the side of the park side was actually a parking pad. and
Which is a darn shame because it broke the new street as they drive up onto the sidewalk.
I'm just telling
But
you what it
yes,
is. I didn't,
he's on the
shame or
other
not,
side.
it is what it is. It's a parking pad, but all right, I was a little confused about
Thank
this.
you.
I
Actually,
have the floor.
Actually, Mayor McGlynn said that he didn't agree to that to happen. The person that worked for the DPW said, let's just put this in at an angle. And then they just claimed it because they had parked on that side of the street before and wished to continue to do so. There was no ordinance. I don't remember an ordinance coming through and saying, hey, does everyone agree that we won't have a sidewalk? Because I spent 5 years of my life meeting with the mayor, meeting with the DPW, meeting with the chief of police to have a path built so that people could walk on that side of the street. They paved in the path in street material, I don't know why, and the very next day, those cars were parked on the path and the sidewalk because they wanted both. Then I spent another year going back to have a fence put so we could have a path. Now, when they plow their parking platform, they put the snow on the path. So I don't think we need to wait for someone to get hit by a car. I think we need to get the cars off the sidewalk. I think it's basic. The kindergartners walk by and they say, Mommy, why are there people parked on the sidewalk? The mayor said, oh, this is terrible, and we'll take care of it. The guy's still on the sidewalk. They told me they gave him an exception, so now he has both sides of the street. So I'm gonna park on the sidewalk in front of my house. I mean, that would be great. Because they said, because it's easier for his mom, that they can park on the sidewalk. I've never seen this woman get in the car. I always see a younger person get in the car. So before someone gets hurt, maybe you should not worry about paving or putting in paint on the ground if we can't get cars off the sidewalk.
Thank you. And we're talking about South Medford Public Safety. And is there a motion on the floor yet?
Motion to receive and place on file. The subcommittee's already working on the issue, Mr. President.
On that motion, sir, welcome. Please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you, sir. Joe Villione, 59 Garfield Ave. Cars everywhere. There were 3 trucks parked on Garfield Ave on the sidewalk. I
We're
take pictures.
discussing the issues of South Medford.
South Medford too. As I drive to my radio station and go through South Medford, all I see are cars on the sidewalk. It's insane.
On the motion to receive and place on file. Madam Vice President.
If we could ask the chief of police, and I don't know if that's through Captain Doherty or Sergeant Carroll, I believe you said, if we could get an update on what the city's policy is. Are we allowing certain areas to park on certain sidewalks, or are we not? Or are we going to start enforcing this? I mean, I think we need, if there's an ordinance, but why aren't we enforcing our ordinance is my question. So it is related to South Medford, this resolution, but I agree with Cheryl. I mean, I drive down Park Street every day to drop off my child, and there are a number of students who are walking to school, and there are cars parked on the sidewalk. I don't get as many complaints, so, you know, obviously South Medford, I think I get a complaint every day on this from multiple people, but it's an issue throughout our community, and it's an issue where if we do get complaints, we need to do something, especially if we get complaints, we need to do something about it.
So by resolution, Madam Vice President, what would you like the resolution to say?
What is our policy with regards to enforcement of our ordinance with regards to parking on sidewalks? Is it uniform, or, you know, different areas treated differently?
So we have a motion to receive and place on file. Will that motion be removed?
And if I may, if I may,
Thank you. So maybe you can send your paper to the subcommittee?
I'd also like to find out, because I did ask it before, how many tickets have been given out within the last year or two with regards to parking on sidewalks? Because I'd bet to guarantee there's minimal, if any, tickets that have been issued with regards to parking on sidewalks. So if I could ask that question again, how many tickets have been issued within the last 2 years with regards to parking on sidewalks and violations of our city ordinance?
On the motion that the paper be received and placed on file, and that we ask for a report on the policy towards parking on sidewalks, and furthermore, that we ask for a report on how many tickets have been issued for parking on sidewalks. On that motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. While we're under suspension, 16-480, petition by Joseph Pierre, owner of Citywide Taxi. Are you here, Monsieur Pierre? 40 Canal Street to upgrade cab number 16 from a 1999 Toyota Sienna van, vehicle identification number 4T3ZF 19CXXU 100816 to 2009 Toyota Camry, vehicle identification number 4T1BE 46K59U920704. On the motion for approval by Council Caraviello. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. To take the paper from the table for our taxi operation license of Mr. Philippe M. Tovar, 20 Burgett Ave, number 2, Medford. Mr. Tovar, are you present? Yes. Please come before us and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Philippe M. Tovar, and I live on 20 Burgett Ave.
Bienvenue. Chair recognizes Councilor Caraviello, Chairman of the Licensing Committee, Subcommittee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, we have an address of 20 Burgett Ave, but the mail has been returned here. Do you live on Burgett Avenue?
Yes, I do.
Then you should check to why the mail is being returned.
Yeah. Actually, I was expecting that mail too. I didn't receive it, but I live there.
There you go.
Well, we have it here. We have it here, Mr. Tovar. Mr. President, the gentleman's papers, other than the address, appear to be on file. Again, you should check with your mailbox and see why you're not getting your mail.
I will check that and I add my name to it, and everything is all right.
Mr. President, the gentleman's papers appear to be on file, and a motion for approval.
On the motion of approval by Chairman Caraviello, all those in favor?
Aye.
Councilor Marks is in opposition for his previously stated reasons. Thank you very much. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes with Councilor Marks in opposition.
Thank you.
Let's do this one first.
Let's go through the business. We're going back to the regular order of business on the motion of Councilor Knight. 16-471, offered by Vice President Longo-Kern. Be it resolved that the school department provide a list of all school employees that reside out of state for a majority of 6 months or more of the year. Be it further that the list include the names, salaries, and benefits provided to such employees. Madam Vice President.
Thank you, President Del Russo. After I spoke last week about a number of issues with regards to having a group meeting with the mayor, one of the issues was related to, school issues. Since I spoke, I've received a number of additional phone calls with regards to issues that may be going on in the school. Whether or not there are more than one employee, I am aware that there is an employee that is somewhat of a department head, although not working, full-time. I don't know the pay scale because it almost seems like it's hidden somewhere in the budget, that is the head of a department and lives in Florida. So it's of extreme concern to me that we have somebody on the payroll that is not currently in Massachusetts, and I'd like to know if there's more than one. Obviously, I know it's going to be tough to get this information, but it's something that needs to be spoken about. I got this from a very good source. I don't think, I've questioned a couple of the school committee members on it, and they were unaware. So if we could get an update with regards to anybody that lives out of state, I'm not talking if you're commuting from New Hampshire or Rhode Island, but when you're talking you live in Florida and are head of a department, there's a concern there, and we need as a community to get to the bottom of that, because it's wrong.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Chair recognizes Councilor Knight.
I'm a firm believer that people who provide high-quality public services and abide by the terms of their work contract have the right to live wherever they want. I think one thing that we're not thinking about here is the fact that people may claim permanent residency in one community and live there not 6 months out of the year. For example, I think we remember when Suzanne Bump was running for auditor, and there became a question as to whether or not she had a primary residence in South Boston or a primary residence in Pittsfield, and on her tax returns she put both, and she had 2 primary residences. So I don't know how the school committee would ever be able to quantify who lives in a place for up to 180 days. Number one. Number two, I really don't understand the resolution. I mean, you know, anybody that works for the school department is provided their benefits through the benefit package that's provided as an employee. They're salaried through the contract that they've negotiated or through the bargaining agreement. So really all we're looking at here is who are these people that don't live in Massachusetts? And whether or not we can determine whether or not they're residing in Massachusetts for more than 6 months of the year or not. I just don't see the relevance at all to how this is something that's even makes any sense for us to do anything. I mean, what are we going to use this information for? I just don't get it.
Thank you, Councilor. Chair recognizes Councilor Falco.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, I was looking at the resolution, and as far as I know, I mean, there is no residency requirement, as far as I know. So I guess I'm not sure why there's an issue, I guess, because it doesn't seem, there's no residency requirement. When we review the budget, I mean, there's no, when you look at the salaries, there's no addresses next to the name. So to me, it shouldn't be an issue. I mean, I don't, I guess I'm not really sure why this is coming before us. I mean, it's, I hate to say it, it seems like we're chasing down a rumor. That's, you know, because, and that's...
Point of information, Madam Vice President.
This is not a rumor. There is a department head that lives in Florida that has been paid through the City of Medford School Department for 2 years. This is finishing out the 2nd year. It's fact. I've heard, I know from a very good source.
Point of information,
very good source. What the job description is, I don't know. That's what I'm trying to get to the bottom of. But the people that called me concerned about it know that something very fishy is going on.
Thank you, Councilor, for that point of information. Point of information for Councilor Scarpelli next. Councilor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I contacted someone in administration today about this, and it's relatively easy when you look at their payroll and what's going on, and I believe that what I was told was there are 11 residents that don't live in, they live in New Hampshire, and they're all teachers. That's what I was told today, if that would help.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Point of information, Councilor Knight.
I think Councilor Scarpelli addressed it. Thank you very much.
You still have the floor, if I remember correctly. Or no, Councilor Falco did.
Falco has
Did Councilor Falco finish his presentation?
Yeah, I mean, just to reiterate, I actually made the same call as well as Mrs. Scarpelli did. I get the same answer that 11 employees, and they're all in the surrounding New England states. It's like New Hampshire, Rhode Island, maybe Connecticut.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to, I may have screwed up the buttons here. Does anybody else wish to address on this matter? Hearing and seeing none, on the motion for approval by Vice President Longo Kern, is there anybody seconding this? Second. Seconded by Councilor Marks. A roll call has been requested by Councilor Knight. Mr. Clerk, if you would please call the roll.
Councilor Caviola.
No.
Councilor Falco.
No.
Councilor Knight. No. Vice President Long Kern.
Yes.
Councilor Marks.
Yes.
Councilor Scarpelli.
No.
President Dela Russo.
No. With the vote of 2 in the affirmative and 5 in the negative, the motion fails. 16-472 offered by Vice President Longo Kern. Be it resolved that before the end of May, the very merry month of May, which is before budget hearings begin, the Medford City Council be provided with an accounting and list of anyone that uses the school's facilities for free or as a donation what is paid by each group and which account said payment goes into. Madam Vice President.
Thank you, President Del Russo. This is an issue that has been brought up by the a number of school committee members a number of times, and it's information that hasn't been given to the school committee for one reason or another. So there are
Point of information, Councilor Knight.
There are a number of fees for service and for use of our facilities, especially in the school department. I think Councilor Marks brought up one at the beginning of tonight's meeting. There are tens of, maybe 100 organizations that use our facilities that pay a fee, whether that be to community schools or to the general fund of the schools, and the school committee is asking for information, and for some reason they're not being given this information. I think this is pertinent to our budget hearings. I would like to know, this is one thing, one of the probably 10 things that I'm going to ask for before I vote on the entire city budget, because we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars that we don't know what accounts they're going into, what they're being spent on, and how they're being used. So it's very important information. It's gonna help me decide how to, go about looking at the budget and deciding on the budget. And it's information that, we and the school committee need to be able to make take an educated vote on whether to approve or deny or ask for more information, or to come up with better rules and regulation to manage this money and be more forthcoming with it.
I certainly have no problem with the resolution, Mr. President, but I think that it needs to be a little clearer. I think we need to really delineate and designate what facilities it is that we're looking at here. Is it the Masha Karen Theater? Is it the field? Is it Hormel? Hormel doesn't fall into the school's purview. Is it, the side field? Is it the gymnasium? Is it the pool? Is it the community schools program, what the community schools program is bringing in? I think we really need to be a little bit clearer as to what facilities we're looking at and what facilities we're trying to designate to get this information for. I think that might make it a little easier for the administration to be a little bit more forthcoming with the information as well.
So should I take that as an amendment that asks for specific?
Well, it's not my paper, Mr. President. I'm not comfortable voting for the paper in its current form. However, I didn't author the piece of legislation, so I'd ask for it to be amended or maybe move to committee for that to be delineated.
Madam Vice President.
We can start by asking for community schools, Medford High School, all school facilities. It doesn't include Hormel. That's not a school facility.
So all school facilities.
Yes, yes. We're talking probably close to $1 million. We need to know where this is going.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know which facility, because I don't want to get a thing back that says, okay, all school facilities were rented to these organizations. This is how much it was. Here you go. I'd like to know how many people are using this field, what groups are using, what field is generating what money, what facility is generating what money, how much we're getting from that particular entity.
I understand. Madam Vice President, are you all set? Chair
Thank you.
recognizes Councilor Caraviello.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, if Councilor doesn't mind, if we could incorporate 16475 into that same request. I think it's pretty much all relevant, correct? And 476, what I say, I think they're all pretty relevant.
Can we do that parliamentarily?
Can't combine it unless you make them one of these amendments.
Why don't we make those two as amendments to this and withdraw them?
No, I'll take it separately.
You want to take them separately, madam? So do we have Councilor Scarpelli wishes to address us on this?
Again, I did talk to a few school committee members. They had a subcommittee last night. I believe Monday at their regular meeting, there'll be to help with some of these questions at the regular meeting, that there'll be a detailed line item that shows which facility is self-sufficient, which facilities are in need of funding, because from what I hear there are, and so on and so forth. So I believe the school committee has done their due diligence, and that's something that with this subcommittee will be out. And I appreciate Vice President Longo-Kern, but I think that the horse is out of the barn and will be presented on Monday. So we could follow up with that, and then we can agree to our colleague and then get that report right away, that'd be great for Tuesday. Thank you.
If I may, point of information on that, we must be talking to different school committee people, because the few that I've talked to said they've asked for this information and for some reason are not getting it, and it's been months. So they're asking for help again, like I
Okay,
said
we'll see
last
Monday.
week.
Point of
Hopefully
information.
Monday, that would be great. That's
That'd be great if we
great.
could see Monday, because the subcommittee members that were on that committee, I talked to, so.
Motion to table
All
next
the-
meeting, Mr. President.
you.
They're going to get it
All
on
the-
Monday. If they don't have it on Monday, then we can take it up again on Tuesday.
Motion to
All the
table is
no-
before us, which is undebatable. On that motion,
All the
those
better.
in
If they're going to
favor?
get it and have it ready on Monday, then why
All
can't
those
we
in
get a copy?
favor?
This is crazy. I'm opposed. The chair should be in doubt and take a roll call vote, please.
Roll call vote to table this matter. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Counsel Cavanagh?
Yes.
Counsel Falco? Yes. Counsel Knight?
Yes.
Vice President Lon Kern?
No.
Counsel Marks? No. Counsel Scarpelli?
Yes.
President Del Russo?
Yes, with a vote of 5 in the affirmative.
We
two
should
in the
care where the
negative.
council, we should
This
care where
paper
probably $1
is-
million is going.
This
We will on
paper
Tuesday.
I'm not saying we don't.
is tabled. Next, 16-473, offered by Vice President Longo Kern. Be it resolved that the Medford City Council be provided with the names of those who will be appointed to the Veterans Advisory Committee. And I think Councilor Caviello knows about that, but Madam Vice President.
Thank you, President Del Russo. Yes, I'm just looking, there's a number of people that I know applied for it. One or two have called, and they said that names have been picked, but they're not, they have.
I have them if you'd like.
You have
to
the
use
names,
them.
great.
We have our own, one of those collected was our own Gene Martin. Congratulations,
great.
Gene. Mr. Matthew Wyants of 134 Auburn Street, he's been selected. Dominic Dorsey, 48 Suffolk Street, has been appointed. And Michael Vecchia has been appointed. Lawrence Brown, 26 Florence Street, has been appointed. And Dominic Marcelino has been appointed as an ad hoc member because he does not live in the city of Medford. So at the moment, I know the mayor had the option to choose up to 12, but these are the ones that she was chosen as of what I was given.
And through the chair, so it's going to be a committee of 5, or we're just not sure yet?
At the moment, this is the committee she's chosen. Like I say, she had the option to choose up to 12. I assumed that she chose not to choose 12.
But you don't know for sure if she's
I
adding
guess
more
this is it.
people, or?
I know there were other names. I mean, I had submitted 8 names myself, and only 2 of them were chosen.
Okay.
So,
Thank you, yeah, that's what
Yeah.
people are calling and asking, and they said the names
what I
have been
understand,
picked, but it wasn't public.
This is the committee.
Okay. If we could just make sure that that's correct, and that's great, thank you.
Good evening, citizen. Please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you, Jean Martin, 10 Cumming Street, and finally...
Congratulations.
Thank you. The city knows what to do with me, finally. Huh? Oh, no! Oh. Anyway, I want to thank Mr. Carviello for putting my name in. I'm looking forward to this. I was looking over the website. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. I'm looking at all the cities around us websites, and I'm going to take the best of what, and I'll work with whoever the people are.
Have one of the better programs.
Oh, excellent.
Yes.
Okay, I will. I've been looking at other people's websites. Why reinvent the wheel, right? But I also want to incorporate I have a lot of suggestions. Put a calendar of events during the course of the calendar year, and just so that it's easy to find. Also, today we went with your people, the Chamber of Commerce, and the Elder Services did a pinning for veterans today. And I went over to that place, and I was talking to the director over there, Pam, and we got together, and we're going to do a coffee social for veterans once a month, which is awesome. It's a great event, and I can take my tablet and actually sign people up for e-benefits and e-health on the website for the VA benefits. It's an awesome opportunity. I'm going to also talk about families and incorporate families into the veterans community issues, which I'm really looking forward to. Women, of course. People of color, of course. So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be exciting. So thank you very much for helping me, and thank you for bringing it up. Thank you.
Thank you. Your city is grateful to you. On the motion for approval by Vice President Longo Curran, seconded by Councilor Caviello, all those in... So you move in approval? On that motion, all those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. 16-475, offered by Vice President Longo Curran. Be it resolved that the Medford City Council be provided with an accounting of profit and losses with regards to the last 3 years at the Field of Dreams and the terms of the bond. Madam Vice President.
Thank you, President Dela Russo. This is information that we did receive for the first 2 years with regards to the Field of Dreams. So I'm just looking for the last 3 years with profit in and obviously expenses out. Just want to see if we are bringing in enough for the bond. It doesn't, obviously the children are using the field, so I'm just curious. I would like to know before budget time, where are we? Are we in the red? Are we not in the red? Are we making money? I mean, it's going to help, obviously, at budget time.
We asked for that last year,
Yep.
And it was a little sluggish in getting
Yes, we
to us,
did.
so thank you for putting that up on now. On the motion for approval by Vice President Longo Curran, Councilor Falco.
Thank you, Mr. President. I did make a call. When I saw the resolution, I had some questions myself, so I did call the superintendent, and I did ask about these various projects, Field of Dreams, the swimming pool and whatnot, and Mr. Scarpelli is right, Councilor Scarpelli, that the school committee is going to be receiving reports on this on Monday evening, so I would assume that we would get reports shortly after that, hopefully on Tuesday, but they are going to be getting these types of reports on Monday.
Great.
So, thank you.
So again, I table the same paper until Tuesday night. I think that, let's listen to that same.
We have a motion for approval?
Motion for approval. Move approval.
On the motion for approval, all those in favor?
Aye.
Roll call.
Roll call vote for approval is requested. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Caviello.
Yes.
Council Falco.
Yes.
Council Knight. No. Vice President Longo.
Yes.
Council Marks. Yes. Council Scarpelli.
No.
President Del Russo.
Yes. With a vote of 5 in the affirmative, 2 in the negative, the motion passes. 16-476, offered by Vice President Longo Curran. Be it resolved that the Medford City Council be provided with an accounting of profit and losses with regards to the Medford High School pool and the terms of the bond. Madam Vice President.
Thank you, President Del Russo. This is the exact same thing with regards to the Field of Dreams. We're just looking to see the term of the bond and profit and losses with regards to the pool.
On the motion of approval by Vice President Longo Curran, all those in favor?
Roll call.
Roll call vote has been requested. Do you wish to speak before the
I do,
roll is
Mr.
called
President.
on
I
that
do.
motion?
I'd like to explain my vote on the next two, on the last matter and on this one, Mr. President.
Please.
The city side is what funds the bond. The city side is what funds the bond for both of these entities. So I think if we're going to start looking for accounting issues, we should be looking at accounting issues for our bonded indebtedness as a whole, Mr. President. We should be looking at our debt service as a whole, not just this little portion and this little portion, because I think if we put the whole picture together, we'll have a better understanding of what the actual scenario is. So for that reason is why I'm going to be voting against this matter.
I understand. On the motion for approval, Councilor Caviello wishes to
Mr.
speak.
President, I would hope that all of these proposals are, I hope, are ready by budget time for the budget, so, thank you.
Thank you. Did anybody else need to speak on
Yes,
this?
I can.
Councilor Scarpelli.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, this is something that will be discussed Monday, I believe, and presented to us, presented to the school committee on Monday. So that's why I will not be voting for this. Again, we can revisit this on Tuesday, I would hope so, with the other papers.
Thank you. So on the motion for approval by Vice President Longo Curran, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Caviello. Yes. Council Falco. Yes. Council Knight. No. Vice President Longo Curran.
Yes.
Council Marks. Yes. Council Scarpelli.
No.
President Del Russo.
Yes, with a vote of 5 in the affirmative, 2 in the negative, the motion passes. 16-477, offered by Council Marks. Be it resolved that the Massachusetts Water Resource Authority lead service line replacement loan program for both private and public projects be discussed. Did we not discuss this not a week or two ago, Councilor?
Thank you, Mr. President. No, we actually did not discuss this. This is relatively a new advisory board opinion that was just issued by the MWRA. A few weeks back, as many may be aware, I asked that the city look into the number of lead service lines in the city of Medford due to safety concerns, in particular for young children and infants that consume lead in their water. And at the time, I asked that the city do a complete accounting of the number of lines that exist in this community. I believe there are about 2,200 lines that currently exist, and I asked that the city not only do a complete and thorough audit, but also notify residents who may have a lead line to alert them of this particular issue. And I just received notice that the MWRA board, the advisory board, on April 21st approved a $100 million lead service line replacement program. And this program will provide interest-free loans to rehabilitate or replace lead service lines for both the community-owned and privately owned portions of local water systems. The funding will become available FY17, and the community needs to acknowledge a number of things before they're eligible for this particular funding. I'll just read off a couple, but this is actually 0% interest. So if the city takes advantage of this, it's possible we could approach homeowners and say, we can get you the money, the $2,000 or $2,500 that's necessary to replace on the homeowner's side their lead service line at 0 interest. And that's a big cost savings for people on tight budgets. So the components that are recommended by the MWRA that the city must acknowledge is the community will clearly establish that the goal is to fully remove all lead pipes from both publicly owned and privately owned water sewer line connections. The lead removal program will include replacement of lead gooseneck connections when encountered during construction or targeted for replacement. The community will commit to a comprehensive lead service line inventory program, and that's what I spoke about a couple of weeks ago, Mr. President, to compile a listing of properties with a full or partial lead service line that will be made available for the public via web page or other similar public access vehicle. The community will target proactive outreach to customers with lead service lines to provide educational information regarding the risk of lead exposure and information encouraging customers to participate in community lead service line replacement programs so that privately owned portion is replaced concurrent with publicly owned portions. And then it goes on to just mention about community outreach and so forth. So I would ask, Mr. President, that the city look into this MWRA Advisory Board Replacement Loan Program, and that you can also use some of the money to do a complete audit of the community. The reason why I brought this up is there was an article in the Globe, I don't know, about 6-8 weeks ago, that referred to Medford having the second highest lead line connections in the MWRA district, which I believe is some 46 cities and towns. And come to find out, the numbers that were reported are way off, needless to say. And rather than having 3,500 connections or very close to that, we're close to the 2,200. And no number's acceptable, but we by no stretch of the imagination have what was reported in the Boston Globe. So I'd just like to move approval of that, Mr. President, to the city engineer, and a response whether or not the city will take advantage of this lead line replacement program.
Thank you, Councilor, for your vigilance in this matter. Chair recognizes Councilor Scarpelli.
If I can, thank you, Council Marks. I think that a few neighbors actually reached out after watching the meeting, and they were nervous for elderly. And they had grandkids, and they were talking about what's been happening both in Flint and then also in Boston now, and so it really brought light. I know that, thank God, it's not that bad, but it sheds light, and I appreciate you moving forward with this. And again, this is through the engineer. Just to reiterate that to be diligent about this issue is that city engineer will report back to us, and it's aimed for MWRA and the city to apply for this. Correct? All right, thank you. So I appreciate it. I second that motion. Thank you very much.
On the motion, for approval by Councilor Marks, seconded by Councilor Scarpelli. Councilor Caraviallo.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think many of us saw MWRA Director Lasky on television last night on Fox 25, where he was announcing the program in Malden, and they were on some streets in Malden digging up, and he outlined the whole thing for the whole MWR system. So again, I commend Council Marks for bringing it forward, and I commend MWRA Director Lasky for also instituting the program.
A great citizen in our community.
Great citizen in our community. We're lucky to have him.
We are. Councilor Knight.
Mr. President, thank you very much. I'd just like to commend Councilor Marks for his efforts. He identified an issue. He brought the issue to everybody's attention. He stayed on top of the issue. He found a solution to the problem that was out there. So for that, I thank him. I think that this is some great stuff, and I just would wonder if there's an application deadline that needs to be met by the city.
Honestly, there's a lot of paperwork. I didn't see a deadline, but the funds are available fiscal FY17. I didn't see any talk about a deadline.
Excellent. Well, again, I just wanted to thank Councilor Marks for his efforts and commend him on coming full circle on an issue like this. Identify a problem, come up with a solution. I mean, that's what we're here for. So thank you very much. It has my support.
On the motion for approval by Councilor Marks, seconded by Councilor Scarpelli. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries. 1516-478, offered by Councilor Falco. Be it resolved that the Medford City Council requests the Department of Public Works Department to paint the following crosswalks in the interest of public safety. Crosswalk at the intersection of Hadley Place and Salem Street. Crosswalk at the intersection of Fulton Street and Salem Street. Crosswalk in front of the Brookline Bank on Salem Street. Crosswalk in front of Sonny's Corner Variety on Salem Street. Councilor Falco, you are going to join Councilor Marks in finding every crosswalk in this city and separately moving their painting. Councilor Marks. Councilor Falco.
Thank you, Mr. President. I thank my colleague, Councilor Marks, for bringing this up last week. And actually, the reason why this actually came up is I was waiting for the bus to take the 325 bus into town. And I was actually at that intersection last Friday and almost saw someone get hit by a car. Yeah. And that intersection is really dangerous. And as I looked around, the crosswalks are all faded. So they really need to be repainted or relined or something. But it's a problem. I mean, that intersection there, I see adults having a tough time crossing the street there in the morning, and when they get off the bus at night. It's the last intersection before you get onto the off-ramp on 93. So it really needs to be addressed. So I'd ask that be addressed. And since I've actually put this resolution out there, I got a call from a resident as well, or an email, about from the corner of Paris Street to the corner of Dudley, across Salem Street. If we could add that as well to the list.
Amending the repair of Paris and Dudley.
Yes, and if we could also look at around various neighborhood schools, or not neighborhood schools, but at our various schools, if we could take a look at the crosswalks in those areas as well. The weather's nice, people are walking, and there's a lot of children walking to and from school that live close to the school. So if we could take a look at those crosswalks as well, I think that would be a benefit to the community. So thank you.
Absolutely. Councilor Caraviallo.
Mr. President, if I could amend that to do all the all the crosswalks in the city. I think they're all in need of repair. So if Councilor Falco doesn't mind, that we amend that to do all of them.
As amended by Councilor Caraviallo. Councilor Knight.
Yes, Mr. President, I certainly understand Councilor Carviello's position on this. They should be painted, so why aren't they painted? Why are we picking one over the other? They should all be done. However, Ms. Rodriguez was up here a little earlier, and she was speaking about the walking school bus and how groups of students will walk to school and they'll collect on their way to school at certain and different locations, Mr. President. And I think it might make sense for us to maybe identify some safe routes to school for these individuals as well. If right now we have some crosswalks that have faded out and there are individuals and groups that are, meeting along a certain pathway or a certain route, maybe we prioritize those locations first so that these children that are walking to school and that are trying to begin that whole process of walking to school again, like I used to do, is coming back in. Maybe we can make sure it's a little safer for them, Mr. President. So, I'm looking at it saying that there's a group that's already together that's coordinating this. They have pathways that they already take. It might be nice if they could provide us with that information or forward that information to the administration.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilor Marks.
Thank you, Mr. President. I thank Councilor Falco for putting this on. You know, Councilor Knight just brought up a great point. And, you know, why aren't they done? We should be asking the question, why isn't it done citywide? And I happened to ask that question. I ask it every year, but I just asked it recently, and I was told that the city contracts out for roughly 80% of the painting of crosswalks in the city. So 80% is contracted out. Over the last several years, contracted services have been on a decline in the budget, and we're at a point right now that our current contract does not call for the completion of the 80% that's required under the painting. That's not an excuse, that's reality. And, you know, we're in May now. We're 5 months into the year. And to have our crosswalks, as Councilor Falco mentioned, all faded. I mean, you can add churches to the schools, you can add senior housing. Everywhere in the city, they're faded, Mr. President. And, you know, the mayor recently entered into a complete streets with the state, and it was a great photo op, and it sounds great when you read the brochure, and there's money available, but this is basic city service. We're not asking to move mountains, we're asking to paint a simple crosswalk. That's all we're asking. And, you know, the complete streets is great, and they should move forward with that, but, you know, I think it's a shame that basic city services, we have to stand up here week after week and do them one at a time. That's not very productive, and it's not productive for the DPW who has to run out and do them. And if we don't have enough money in the contracted services for painting crosswalks, that should be brought to our attention immediately after 10 resolutions. And we can move, because at the end of the year, as we all know, who have been on this council for a number of years, there's millions of dollars in line item transfers. There's money in the budget that could be appropriated to do a public safety concern. So, you know, I'm really tired of talking about this, Mr. President. I'm really fed up with talking about this basic, you know, service, and to use it as a PR to get press in the newspaper about, oh, look at what the city's doing now, complete streets, safe streets. There's a lot of hogwash, because we don't have complete streets. We get complete messes throughout the community. That's what we have, Mr. President. And you could talk about the crosswalk. Let's talk about the catch basins. The hundreds of catch basins. I ask any of my colleagues to go up and down the street, not the manhole cover, which are in deplorable condition. Check the catch basins that catch the groundwater, and you'll see a majority of them on every street are sinking down, posing a real concern, not only for drainage, but public safety concern, exactly. Mr. President. That's one aspect. And the potholes is another aspect. So, you know, it's great to say that we're going to become this complete street with the state funding, but, you know, that's a one-time fix. And if the city doesn't create their own internal policy to deal with this year after year, Mr. President, we're going to be back, as we all mentioned, about some of the other neglect issues, be back facing the same issue. I've been on the council 14 years. Every single year, we have to bring up this issue. Every single year, without a doubt. Without a doubt, it comes up every year. And you would think, as an administrator, someone that specially served on the council and heard these concerns, this would be one of the issues that you tackle. And it's not a difficult issue. It really, really isn't. You know, so I don't know what's going to take, Mr. President, but I'm getting real frustrated talking about the same issues. You're right. I'd rather focus my attention on things that we should be looking out of the box, things we should be discussing about improving this community, and not basic amenities. Basic city services that we're all paying for, and when you get a crosswalk done, oh, I want to thank the administration, I want to thank DPW. We shouldn't have to go through that list of thank yous. This is a service that should be done without fail every year. Without fail, Mr. President. So I don't know. I don't know what it's going to take. Maybe a few more fatalities in the community, and then someone in the administration will finally wake up and say, oh, we need to do a better job about making sure that our crosswalks are visible, making sure there's proper signage, making sure that we abide by some of the safety rules that are laid out by many other communities when it comes to traffic calming approaches. There's so many things that can be done. Someone recently sent me, as I spoke about the 3D markings that some communities are doing in the road where cars are speeding. They're able to paint, where it's a flat surface, but they make it look like it's elevated through a form of the way it's done, and it looks like a 3D obstruction in the road, and it makes cars slow down. And it's really a great way of controlling speeding at a very minimal cost, and we don't have to create the wheel. But, we still have 2 raised crosswalks. Remember the pilot program?
Yep.
It called for 3. We have 1. I think that was 2 years ago.
And it's kind of smushed out already.
We haven't implemented the other 2, Mr. President. It's similar to the citywide street sweeping pilot program, where we don't sweep half our streets now. Look at any major thoroughfares. The cars that are parked overnight aren't being towed, and they're not sweeping appropriately. And there's no secret to that. So, here we go again with pilot programs that really mean nothing. Thank you,
On
Mr.
the
President.
motion for approval by Council Falco as amended, Mr. Citizen, you wish to speak on this matter? Welcome. Please state your name and address for the record. No, we're talking about the crosswalks.
Crosswalks. Andrew Castanetti, Cushing Street Method. Thank you, Councilor Marks. You sound like a broken record, and you're doing a good job because it's an important issue. You would think in a city like this we could have nice and bright on these crosswalks. Maybe the 3D or hologram effect might be a good way to do it, and maybe the color could be changed. I'm not sure. Instead of the whites, and maybe make it yellow if that's allowed legally. And maybe we should check out the paint manufacturer and make sure that the paint that they've been using is not a defective batch number. Something is amiss. They shouldn't be fading so quickly, in my opinion. And with less rock salt being used this past winter. I don't know. Maybe it should be just as bright as the front of the vinyl LP, Abbey Road. Good luck, people.
Thank you. On the motion for approval by Council Falco as amended, all those in favor, all those opposed, motion carries. 16-483 offered by Council Caviello, be it resolved that the Medford City Council commend and congratulate Sophie Santoro on the celebration of her 90th birthday. Councilor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think Sophie might be sleeping now at this late hour.
I would rather be.
I was able to, today is actually her 90th birthday, and I was able to go to her birthday party on Saturday and present her with a commendation. So I just wanted to publicly congratulate her on her 90th birthday, and hope she's awake seeing this.
Happy birthday, Sophie.
Mr. President, if I could too?
Councilor Marks.
I want to thank Councilor Caviello for putting this on. Mrs. Santoro is a sweetheart of a woman. She may be 90, but let me tell you, she's as feisty as a 50-year-old. And I wish her well on her birthday and many, many more to come.
Thank you. On the motion for approval by Councilor Caviello, seconded by Councilor Marks. All those in favor? All those opposed? Committee of the Whole next week, Wednesday, May 18th at 6 o'clock, the Public Safety Summit. Subcommittee on Cultural Arts and History, meeting notice, Tuesday, May 17th at 6 p.m. in room 207. Thursday, May 12th, 6 p.m. in room 207, Subcommittee on Zoning and Ordinances. I also got a request in writing in my packet over the weekend asking for a Committee of the Whole on the night that Vice President had already scheduled the subcommittee meeting, so I'm going to look into rescheduling that with the mayor. I think that was on an environmental issue or an electrical issue. We'll get to the bottom of that. We have the records of the meeting of May 3rd, 2016, passed to Council Marks. Mr. Counselor, how did you find those records?
I reviewed the records, find them to be in order, and move approval.
On the motion for approval by Councilor Marks, all those in favor, all those opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. On the motion of Councilor Marks for adjournment, all those in favor, all those opposed? Meeting adjourned.